Hello and welcome to the KSW Painting V8 Supercar series live on Apex Racing TV. I'm Sam Fitzpatrick and tonight I'm joined alongside by Marco Barbonet and we're here at the heart of V8 Motorsport. It is Bathurst. We've got two races for you this evening and Marco, they should be two extremely competitive races and this circuit's always a staple on the calendar for the V8. And we're very pleased to be back here once again.
Absolutely. Hello everyone. Happy Easter, by the way. Even though it's tomorrow, I take this opportunity. We are ready for the, like you said, it's always on the calendar. We talked with Clyde Whiting many times, and he says that the only thing he, requires, like where he really is not moving, is that Bathurst has to be on the schedule every time, as Nicole Foggy gets another very fast lap, 206.4. And talking with Tony Klusterman earlier in the week, it's a very unique kind of double-header event because both races will require a pit stop apparently, and so we know that we are in for two extremely long races, both the sprint and the feature, with the reverse grid between the two races. So kind of also a strategic element that usually we don't see in the first race of the night when we have a sprint and feature kind of evening, Sam. So it's going to be very interesting to see how these guys will approach, and of course Mount Panorama always a tough track to deal with.
Yeah, absolutely. I expect a lot of drivers in the wall this evening. In the championship, though, going into this race, Nicole Foggy is leading the way. That's with the drop score and without the drop score as well. He's ahead of his teammate Johnny Braden. Michael Evdog, who unfortunately isn't here today, he's in third, a little bit detached from the top two, with Tony Klusterman in fourth, and then it's Richard Warrior and Chris Jackson rounding out the top six drivers. So still the championship very much open, but Foggy, after these past few rounds recently, Marcus has really taken a firm grip of this championship, and this is a circuit where he was dominant at last year, and he just needs to make sure that he beats his teammate Johnny Branson once again.
Exactly. As Klusterman goes into second, I mean he was already in second. It's getting now, after this one we have 3 rounds left. I had a miscalculation last time around, so I will make
It is
extra
3 rounds
sure.
to go after this one.
Yes, I am going through my broadcasting folder, and we have, of course, Mount Panorama is round 8, round 9 will be the Enduro at Charlotte, then Ulton Park and Snetterton to round up the 11 round season. Also, very important, if you would like to sponsor this series, to be the title sponsor of this series in season 7, well, the spot is available. KSW Painting will end their relationship with the series at the end of this season. So next season, if you want to broadcast, if you want to sponsor the series and of course get your logo on the broadcast all season long, just contact the organizers and who knows, we could have your name, V8 SuperCar series, who knows. So feel free to contact the league organizers because it's a great opportunity, a series that has a lot of exposure, drivers from North America, Europe and the Oceanic region, and so you will get absolutely everywhere with your logo, with your brand, and I think it's a great opportunity. Of course, KSW Painting has been a great sponsor of the series, and it has been a pleasure to share the last couple of seasons with them, as we have 2 minutes left in qualifying, and Tony Klusterman is not looking to improve this time around. It's a very slow lap for him, and he will go another time, as I think this will be his last attempt at qualifying, because he got the 2 minutes left in the session, 2 minutes 06 pole lap, so last chance for Tony to get pole position.
Yeah, and his last lap, of course, wasn't a properly representative time. It's surprising that this is, I believe, his third lap on these tyres. So I don't really know how they're still hanging on because this is a decent track temperature. In fact, I say decent, 41 degrees Celsius. So swelteringly hot out here in Australia, only 24 degrees air temperature. So it's surprising that these tires are being able to last so long, especially with these traction zones up the hill and over the bumps as well. But his first couple of sectors, unfortunately, for
Oh
Tony,
no!
are a long way off, and well, his third sector as well is going to be a bit off as well after that spin. Hopefully, he doesn't collect anyone else and he does escape back to the pits. Lane O'Connor, good to see him back. We've got a few drivers back for this race. Unfortunately, a few drivers also missing. I know couple of them. This will just be the one race that they do miss. Michael Abdoka, unfortunately, has an injury. Probably broke his hand or something, I believe. I know George McClare's got other commitments, and I think Ben Gregory as well. So that's certainly three drivers who aren't here. But there's plenty of others, including Alex Mass, who burst on the scene last season at Laguna Seca, was ever so impressive that time. Unfortunately, we haven't seen quite enough of him in season 6, but hopefully he'll do the last few rounds. And he's currently in a very competitive 10th position, and we'll see if he can improve this time round. The triple four car, he can complete the next lap time. Of course, this isn't an official series, so they can complete the lap that they start once the clock goes down. In fact, he will try to do that. Only got 8 seconds to go in this session. And so this is, yeah, really the end for these drivers. Katie Race Toronto also just starting a lap. She's just coming through the first corner currently. But maybe an opportunity for a couple of these drivers, Marco, who've got a bit of extra experience, maybe done the Bathurst 1000 before, because this is a specialist circuit. A lot of laps completed potentially for a few of these drivers, and so we could see a slight muddle up with the order.
Yes, and we know Bathurst always it's always tricky to get right, and it takes very very little to get it wrong. And like I always say, you really don't need to do anything wrong to get involved in some shenanigans. Of course, I'm very very happy to have to share the boot tonight with a guy that won a title here
Thank you very
in
much.
Bathurst, which is never easy because, as a matter of fact, I don't think there are tougher tracks, a tougher track that you can have for a final round of a season in any kind of championship, especially with such a fragile car as the Radical. So Sam was able to survive the final round of the BSRTC Winter Series earlier in the season. So I think he knows everything, and he knows, since he won the title, amateur and the overall title, without taking a single race win all season. He knows the importance of being consistent, especially Sam around here, if you want to get some big points coming out of this meeting.
Yeah, absolutely. And of course, I did beat Nicole Foggy and Johnny Brandon to the title. So they'll say that there's like an asterisk there or some kind of punctuation. But I'll say it was completely fair, despite the fact that they won several more races than myself. But certainly is a nervy circuit to try to end the championship. And of course, Foggy has got that experience right now. Of course, this is, whilst the Radicals a tough car, with the amount of laps that these guys are going to be doing today, and with the power of these V8 supercars, it's going to be ever so difficult for them. So, we've now got the grid about to line up for this feature of for this sprint race in the UV8 Supercar Series, and it's Nicole Foggy on the pole position by 1.5 tenths over Tony Klusman. Chris Jackson starts in third, with Johnny Brandon a bit cut off from his teammate down in fourth. Richard Warmingham starts in fifth, with Hal Stadler in sixth. Guy Croft is in seventh, and Greg Carr is in eighth. I expect those four to have a very good battle up there. And then we got Nikolai Bogotayev and Alex Mass rounding out the top 10. Then we got O'Connor, Whiting, Taranto, Woodward, Buzan, Bingham, Hoffman, Switzer, and Michael Frost as well, rounding out the 19-car field. What can we expect from this one? Do you think Foggy's going to be able to pull away from the start, Marco?
That's a very, very good question, especially, like I said, considering that this is a sprint race in name only, because 19 laps around here are quite a bit of laps to turn. So even if he has a better pace than his rivals, of course he needs to be, calm, cool, and collected for the entirety of these 19 laps, and that's never easy even for a driver as quick and as good as Nicole. So of course, then the added pressure of the championship getting to a close. Is the only one that's missing on the grid, by the way. So, oh, by the way, the drivers are already complaining in the chat about how tough it is with the conditions, with the very hot track temperature. So it's going to be 19 very, very long laps for the 19 drivers involved tonight. And yeah, Nicole is really making us wait. And he has to hurry up, otherwise he will start from the pits. Don't tell me he's having issues. No, he's here, so we're ready to go.
Yep, here we go. 19 laps round Bathurst. And we are about to get underway. Nicole Foggy from the pole position. Tony Klusman in second. And away we go at Bathurst. It's not a great start for Foggy, really good start for Klusman, but he's not going to be able to challenge going into turn one. Brandon trying to get past Jackson straight away, but that's not a potential move. And so they all go single file through turn one. Seemingly not too many issues, a bit of a car off. And I think that's Hoffman with a spin just at the rear of the field. But I don't think there's too much damage for several of the drivers. Got to be careful over the crest for the first time with the cold tyres. Got Harold Stadler currently in second position, just getting a little bit cuts adrift is Greg Carr and Gary Croft. But clean start from everyone there. That was very impressive, Marco.
Very, very good. Poor Hoffman, the victim of the first commentator's curse of the night, and I fear there are going to be many, many more of those. As Foggy, Klusterman, Jackson, Brandon, Wormingham is your top 5 as we go up the mountain for the first time tonight. And of course, like you said, very cold tires, easy to get it wrong, and especially here at Skyline, where Klusterman goes into the grass, is the first one. He's able to save the car, and this is one of the toughest places going down the hill. If someone makes a mistake here and gets into the wall, usually it's a roadblock for everyone else. And let's see if Chris Jackson will try to get a move on his teammate as they go into Forest Elbow and down into Conrad for the end of the first lap.
Yeah, where Klusman went off was one of the few places where there isn't a wall right next to the circuit, so he'll be very grateful for that, no doubt. Jackson certainly on his tail. If anything, this is good for Never Quit Racing. Gives Jackson a bit of a slipstream, helps him to defend against Brandon, who's really not that close, as you can see at the moment, and already about 2 seconds off the race lead, and crucially the championship leader, his teammate Nicole Foggy. Jackson just goes a little bit wide there, and that does invite Brandon to maybe have an opportunity. The gap between the two of them is 0.2 of a second as we head on to lap 2, and you can see the top 4 still very close out there. Klusman making a good amount of time back actually near the end of that lap. But Brandon's certainly the closest to making a move. You can see Klusman again making up some time going into turn 1. So we could see a move here because once again Brandon's got a good exit, trying to gain a position up into P3. Foggy seems to be okay this time round, but Klusman's out there to get that win as Jackson defends well, puts his car down the middle of the circuit, and trying to find a gap round the outside here is Brandon. Side by side they go. There's no way around the outside through this part of the track circuit. Around this part of the circuit though, and Brandon just has to back out in the end. Nice defense there from Jackson.
Exactly, no way through there in the cutting. Now on the outside as they go up the hill through Reed Park and Solomon Park.
Into the wall.
And I think, yes, Johnny Brandon has hit the wall there on the left side. You can see the damage already. And now it's a very, very tricky moment because everyone behind him is scrambling to, adjust their pace, because let's see from his on board if his steering is okay, because that was quite a significant hit, I'd say, even though it was a bit off of the camera. But he's struggling with his pace. Of course, his teammate Richard Wormingham went by. Now we will see the amount of the damage, I think, Sam, as he goes onto Conrad Straight.
Yeah, a terrible turn of events for Johnny Brandon. It wasn't going great for him beforehand. And maybe just getting a little bit impatient, trying to get up into that top 3, trying to go around the outside of Chris Jackson. And it might just be done here by Hal Stadler. Puts his car down the middle of the circuit. Stadler gets on the brakes at some 170 miles an hour. And now Stadler's going to be under pressure here from Gary Croft, who looks to the inside. Also getting involved as well is Greg Carr, who almost pulls off a great move as Croft now drops back. All of a sudden, Alex Mass now gaining a couple of positions. He gets past Bogotayev, and he's going to be on the outside. A little bit of contact between the two of them. Are either of them going to make the corner? They just about do, and that's a nice comeback there from Mass. He's going to have the inside for turn 1. It's ever so close in the second half of the field. Mass a little bit tentative on the brakes, and it's giving an opportunity to the car on the outside, and Croft once again has a little bit of net code, as we've seen elsewhere in the championship. Bogotayev was moving alongside. You can see Klusman's got even closer to the back of Foggy. He's coming under some big pressure. Is the championship leader currently, but he's holding on resolutely currently as Jackson is in third and, of course, warming up into fourth. Croft has got past Bogotayev, I believe, and Bogotayev, in fact, slipping down the order a little bit. He's gone down into 11th position, was in 9th position just a few corners ago. And it's, yeah, ever so close in that kind of second bunch.
Yes, now it's the legendary combo of Salman Park and McPhillamy Park as they go into Skyline once again. Tony taking a easier, like more conservative line this time around compared to what happened in the first lap. And now down the hill once again. So tough to get this part of the corner of the track right, where you are in the basically the combination of the SS and then the dipper. That is where you really make, well, you can really break your race and your lap, and you can make a lot of time if your opponent is not very stable through there.
Very close between Stadler and Brandon once again, sorry.
Yes.
Stadler's once again got a fantastic run, as you can see just behind as well. Carr and Mass going alongside. Mass has got a lot of momentum. So too has Harold Stadler. He's going to go down the inside into the kink. Surely there's nothing that Brandon can do. He tries to stick it round the outside. He's going to have the inside for the next corner. Brandon really strong on the brakes, and he moves just ahead. Mass also makes up a move on Greg Carr. He's now up 3 positions, and you can see how Mass gets a fantastic launch once again from that corner. He's living in absolute heaven right now because he's just seeing these drivers come towards him, and he's just picking them off one by one. And right now, it's just a train behind Johnny Brandon, an experience that he is very unaccustomed to. As Nikolai Bogotayev comes into the pits, he's going to try to get his pit stop done nice and early. And I think that's a very good call, Marco, because he could potentially jump all of these drivers. And look at that. Fantastic shot for the series. We've got, what, 8 cars all in a train.
Can we say the Brandon bus? I don't know.
Yes,
I'm trying to make
nice
terrible puns. You know what? Johnny is a bit lucky in his bad luck, because being there not a mandatory, but being there a pit stop in this race, he can get in and get a fast repair at some point. He just has to, wait a second. I think the pit window is open, because usually in sprint races there are no stops. So. In his bad luck, a little bit of good luck for Johnny, and that can play a part maybe later in the race, as he's really struggling. And Alex Mass, I mean, so nice to have him back, and that's why we like him. He's always putting on a show for us, like a modern day version of Victor Tanaka, basically, who sadly is not with us tonight. He's really, usually throwing caution to the wind and putting on a show. He's not afraid to send the car. Like I said, maybe he's missing a little bit of consistency, but I would be surprised if he doesn't get a race win if he sticks with his car and this championship in the future.
Absolutely. One of the super sprints maybe at Snetterton later on in the season will be a great opportunity, as Stadler is going to go ahead again, and Mass has got a fantastic launch. He can't do anything with it because the track's just not wide enough for 3 V8 supercars, but he's going to try to make it too wide as he swoops past Brandon. Is there a line on the inside of Stadler? He's going to look to the inside, a little bit careful on the brakes though, as we see side by side. Klusman's trying to go for the lead. Foggy just about moves ahead, but that was as close as Klusman's got all day long. He looks to the inside once again. Will Foggy be scared off the circuit? No, he won't do. He's far too experienced for
Here comes
that as
Johnny.
a multi-race winner. As Brandon comes into the pits, this is as early as he could come in for his pit stop. We wait to see if some drivers may not make a pit stop, so watch out for that one if anyone pulls an absolute blinder. Especially with the warm track temperature, they ought to use less fuel because, of course, they're on the throttle less often. They've got to lift off far more often as Mass is going to try to get past Stadler here. So Mass couldn't get that move stuck. And you can see how these two fighting is just inviting the others to join this fight as well. As Stadler gives that one up pretty easy. Mass up into 5th position.
Clyde Whiting and Lane O'Connor also battling it out. Of course, Gary Croft is in front of this duo and is the leader in the club race. Let's go back to the leaders now. I think Nicole must have made a mistake towards the end of the previous lap because he was like half a second in front of Tony, and then all of a sudden they were side by side into the final corner. But also lurking just behind these guys is Chris Jackson. Remember, 2 race wins to his name, and all of them were at a certain track. Lime Rock, was it?
No, Phillip Island.
Phillip Island, sorry, yes. Oh well. And you know, he might be waiting in the wings, waiting for an opportunity to jump his 2 rivals who seem to have a better pace, but they are due to fight anytime soon. And let's see if they take different strategies between them. If maybe Tony decides to pit a little bit earlier in order to get the jump with fresher tires. Tony was saying that in theory you could save some fuel, but it's going to be very, very hard to save the required amount to get to the end of the first race, which also means, by the way, I wasn't that very clear earlier, that in race 2, 2 stops are expected, so a mini enduro of sorts, basically, waiting for us after the break.
Yeah, should be absolutely awesome, that one. Very unusual format today, but the league organisers feeling like we're going to extend each of the races a little bit more, and well, that just means more racing for us, which is absolutely superb. You can see by no means is the racing being diluted, instead it's being just extended, because Klinsmann is staying within half a second of Foggy currently. He's keeping him very honest, and I must confess, I thought Foggy might be pulling away by this part of the race with Klusman's very aggressive driving style, but if anything, he's being able to maintain that pressure as Frost has a big crash and he's gone into the wall seemingly. He'll be able to get that one back to the pits though. Hasn't used this fast repair yet, and this is how it happened. This was a while ago. So, oh, well, this is how it happened, though. And going into the wall. And he's now about half a lap down is Michael Frost. That's terrible to see.
Let's see, maybe here he just slowed down for the oncoming traffic. Yes, so the damage was already done. Back to these 2 guys here. Yeah, I think they are absolutely putting on a show for us. And once again, Tony seems to get a better run through the...
Oh, Woodward with an issue, sorry.
Oh, let's see.
Big issue for Anthony Woodward. He's tumbling down the field. He was up in 7th position, and he seems to have recovered. He's down into 9th now. And Clyde Whiting, I believe, as well, with a issue out there. So a couple of problems for the... Well, Wood was no longer a club driver after finishing 2nd in the club championship last season. But some issues out there for a couple of the drivers on the fringes of the top 10. As into the pits comes Tony Klusmann. He's going to go for an aggressive strategy. The advantage you get with the fresh tyres in this V8 Supercar, you can imagine, is very large. So maybe also to cover up Brandon. I think this is a good call, Marco, because... Well, we're nearly at halfway already. The tyres shouldn't be a massive issue for these drivers.
Yes, I'm just waiting to see where Tony will come out. We will keep an eye on that. Jackson and Wormingham kept going. So, and we have also on lap traffic, that is Michael Frost, of course, for Nicole Foggy. Shouldn't pose too much of an issue. As soon as I see Tony come out of the pits, we will switch the cameras back to see where Tony is. As yes, here we go, and I think he is in a good position. He has his teammate Anthony Woodward in front of him. Then Stadler and Croft, they are basically one straight away, or half a straight away in front of me, so he should be okay traffic-wise. And now, of course, keep an eye on his times, as of course he will be pushing very, very hard, and so will Nicole Foggy. And meanwhile, look at Chris Jackson finding some traffic in Michael Frost, sorry, at the top of the hill.
Yeah, and there's not too much that Frost can do in this part of the circuit, and this is really ruining Jackson. He had got to within about 2 seconds of the lead, but he's lost a second following Michael Frost, and this may be ending his chances of the race victory. I'm being a bit over dramatic, to be honest. It's a second here, a second there, but Chris Jackson, after working so hard to keep that gap low, that has just undone a little bit of his hard work. It'll be interesting to see now if he changes his strategy at all, tries to do something a little bit different in order to challenge the race leaders. So you can see Foggy here, maybe lifting and coasting a bit. I'm not sure. Well, he's just run a little bit wide there. Is he going to try to cover off Klusman's pit stop? No, he's going to stay out once again. And that is a lot of lifting coasting, I think. Or is he just braking, got long braking zones? I'm not quite sure. We'll compare this with Klusterman then. He is following another driver. But no, Klusman driving it much more into the corners. You can see him going past his teammate, Anthony Woodward, who might be carrying a bit of damage. Nice move there from Klusman.
Very nice move there, and of course, maximum cooperation from his teammate there, letting him through without too much of a fuss, as also here are Stadler and Gary Croft, 5th and 6th. Of course, Croft, the leader of the club championship race, with Clyde Whiting and Sam Busing 2nd and 3rd, and I think that Gary is the only one of those guys that has yet to pit. I will give you confirmation straight away. Yes, he's the only one left to pit of the yellow cars, so to speak. So let's see if I think Stadler is trying to pull away from his opponent, back to the lead of the race with Nicole Foggy, keeping an eye on their lap times.
Do you think Foggy's going to try to do a zero stop?
I don't think it would be very, very wise for him to do, because it's a big gamble, considering what we were reading from Tony earlier, unless Nicole has something up his sleeve and knows how to save much more fuel, because it's a very risky strategy to play if you are the championship leader and you are one of the favorites to win, because you can gain little, but you can lose a lot if you end up running out of fuel. So I'm expecting Nicole to come here, maybe this time, maybe next time when we hit the halfway mark, so to, half his pit strategy and his tires. Let's see. I think he's coming in now. No, he stays out, so maybe he will come in at lap 9.
Yeah, that would be, well, lap 9 or lap 10 would be the halfway mark in this race, so it might be wise as Klusman gets past another teammate, Gary Croft. Next up, he's got Hal Stadler, which could be a little bit more difficult, but Stadler's been very kind to his competitors, so expect him to be even kinder to Klusman, considering that they really aren't in the same race car. At least Stadler doesn't come into the pits, much to the annoyance of Klusman, I'm sure, but that's not going to stop him as he goes past. Does lose a little bit of time, and it wasn't the fastest pit stop in the world. It was 3 seconds slower than some of the other pit stops we've seen. So if Foggy came in right now, you wouldn't necessarily bank on Klusman getting ahead, but now that Klusman has got some clear air, he should be able to pump in some good lap times, and certainly is forcing Foggy to either go for that zero stop or maybe or have to pull off a very good one stop. As Brandon, of course, still running out there. Who was that coming out of the pits?
I think
it was
it's
a
Gary Croft
driver. Yeah. Oh, was it?
No, it's a lap car. Yes, you are absolutely right.
67. Pete Bingham.
It's Pete Bingham, yes. And so Johnny is in a bit of clean air right now. Of course, like you were saying earlier, getting a lapped car in this section is less than ideal, not only for you, but also for the lap car. I remember in the Bathurst race we did on Apex Racing TV a few months ago, I was absolutely terrified whenever I had a car behind me. It didn't help that we were racing at night. But the only place where you can realistically let someone go is at the top of the hill, where there is that runoff area on the left, which will not give you enough track if you go there. But of course, it will give you a little bit of a slowdown. But better to take a slowdown than to get hit in the back by another car. As of course, there will not be as many lappings as we had in that particular race because it was a multi-class race as Chris Jackson goes in. But still, it's never easy to get it right when you are trying to let someone by there up the mountain.
So Jackson should be ahead of Brandon at least. He's kind of gone. Well, this could be a good strategy. Once again, it's forcing Foggy a little bit. He's going to try to do the undercut on Foggy. He could come out in a bit of traffic though, around the likes of Stadler and Croft. But as long as he's ahead of Brandon, I think he'll be relatively pleased with that. And another podium for Chris, who's not in championship contention as he comes out of the pits. Is that Kloosterman with him? No, that is Stadler and Croft, in fact. So like I said, around these guys, I thought he'd be a little bit behind them, in fact. But actually, he's right in the mix. And now he's going to have to get the slipstream. His teammates shouldn't put up too much resistance, but Stadler is going to be a little bit of a nuisance for him for a few corners at least. He's going to spend the next half a lap, and that's really frustrating for Jackson because this is his opportunity to get some miles back on Nicole Foggy, but he's very much being stopped from doing that, as you can see right now.
Yes, absolutely. You are absolutely right, and now I think he will have to decide if he wants to force the issue.
Oh, it's going to be brave.
Okay, so he's maybe trying to force the issue here. You don't want to get too close to the inside curb. There, I know something. Also going back to that. Well, you also don't want to check your JRT on the backstretch.
No.
Once again. So, yeah, Jackson effectively spending the entire lap behind Harald Stadler here. Of course, it's Harald has every right of being there, and just
I'm sure he wouldn't want to hold up.
No, exactly. But
I feel like Harald is a very nice driver from what we've learned from him. So I'm sure he's quaking in his racing boots right now, doing this disservice to Chris Jackson. But there's not really any other way of doing this. Jackson once again in the slipstream will probably put his nose down the inside. No, he's going to lift off. Well, no, he is going to go for the inside. Sadler should let him go, which he duly does. And, well, that was very kind there from Harold, who may well come into the pits as Jackson just runs a little bit wide. Still, Foggy is going out there. So too is Warmingham, which suggests maybe the XVR drivers are going to try to go for the whole distance. However, Lane O'Connor has come into the pits. So, very much divided actually was with Brandon coming into the pits as well, though that was mainly I think if he did want to do a no-stop, he was very much forced into a one-stop considering those circumstances. So I'll just take this opportunity to thank everyone who's tuned into this stream. We've had about 30 people watching, so very much do appreciate your company, and hopefully you'll stick with us for the rest of the evening because we're in for some awesome racing to come. We've got just over 8 laps to go in this race, so you do not want to miss a thing.
Yeah, we have a lot of drivers also. For example, you were talking about Michael Evdoka, who is not here, and he's saying that Foggy is not stopping. Will this be true? Of course, I would trust, Michael. He's a fantastic driver and a former champion. Little bit of damage on the front right of Nicole's car, but it's very easy to lose fenders around here. You don't need to hit the wall particularly hard, I have to be honest with you. And if Nicole Foggy is on a no-stopper, well, it's going to be very, very entertaining and very brave as Steller and Croft are fighting it out here. As I tell you what, Gary Croft is having some fantastic pace. I think next season he will have a nice red stripe on his car, judging by the way he's driving in this season.
Absolutely, he's been awesome so far this season. We've had a fantastic midfield. Unfortunately, is it Antonia, I believe,
Yes,
won't be
he's
able to
missing.
attend
No,
any more of the races.
Raprager cannot
Ratpriger,
attend, but
apologies.
Antonia is sadly missing once again, and both him, as Alex Mas is in, himself, Harald Stedler and Edward Raprager are absolutely have absolutely made a very nice debut into the season as Gary Croft takes a nice ride into the pits, really showing that they are very competitive drivers. So as Johnny Brandon will move up to P6 because both Gary Croft and Alex Mas are in the pits. Nice once again to have Alex back. Hopefully he's in to stay for the rest of the season. I mean, this is one of the best tracks around, and I really like this longer format, especially for this race. So let's have a quick rundown of the pit stop situations. And Foggy and Wormingham and Stedler haven't stopped. Everyone else has been in the pits at least once. Johnny Brandon, my goodness, going sideways. As we have Croft and Carr. Of course, Croft coming out of the pits just a few seconds ago. And I think Greg will not force the issue on his teammate there.
Yeah, this is for position, but they both realise that they were very close to Hal Statter beforehand, so they might be able to both get ahead. As is this what happened to Chris Jackson? Why he's lost maybe a couple of seconds? He's just hit the wall there, and that could be problematic for him. You always one of the tips is always very much turn into the wall and just hope that you'll understeer away from it. But that time he almost didn't carry enough speed through the corner, and so the front tires gripped too much, and he did end up hitting the wall and quite sizably as well. It wasn't a scrape; it was a proper smack into the wall. But he's still going out there seemingly. Certainly cannot afford to pick up any damage, seeing that he's already used his fast repair, you'd assume. So Kloosterman, I think we've got to assume now that Foggy and Wormingham aren't pitting. Wormingham going out at quite a pace currently. He's only half a second a lap slower than Nicole Foggy, which compared to the rest of the season is quite small. So maybe Wormingham pushing his fuel a little bit more than Foggy, but Kloosterman currently 22 seconds behind the race leader. He's lapping about 7/10 of a second a lap faster. So there's no way that Kloosterman will catch up to either Foggy or Wormingham if they are doing this fine and if they aren't coming into the pits.
They have to, of course, manage their fuel, and they have to hope that the tires don't fall off of a cliff, or that with the worn tires they make a mistake. Because as you can see so far, the gap in the last 5 laps has gone down exactly 5 seconds, 21.8 seconds right now. So like you said, absolutely not enough time for Tony at this pace to catch up with Nicole Foggy. Of course, he has to catch up with Richard Wormingham first, and not an easy task, of course, that, and getting by Richard eventually. So, very brave call by XVR. I wonder if Johnny Brandon was on the same strategy as them and was forced to change it because of a pit stop, because we have Lane O'Connor also pitted, so maybe they decided to split the strategies in XVR. I don't know about that, but we know that Nicole and Johnny, despite being title contenders, are very close teammates, and I'm sure they have talked about this at length in the days coming, getting closer and closer to the race. 209.7 for Nicole Foggy there. Let's see how quick will Tony Kloosterman be this time around.
Yep, here he comes, Wormingham with a 2-minute 10, so slightly slower that time for Wormingham. Kloosterman crosses the line, and it's another 2-minute 8.8, so another second out of the top 2. He's 8.6 seconds behind Warmingham, and we're on lap 14, so he needs about probably 2 seconds a lap if he's going to catch and crucially pass Warmingham. But it might all come down to the last couple of laps. It might be a case of Warmingham and Foggy losing 10 seconds on the final lap, just trying to save enough fuel, or they are absolutely nailing it currently. Quite odd that Johnny Brandon is struggling to match these guys still, despite you feel as though probably sprinting to the end, considering that he pitted a few laps into the race, so should be fine on fuel. Alex Masters racing along. He's in the 2-minute 8 currently. And Hal Stadler is yet to come into the pits. He's down into the 2-minute 11s now. So that would explain why Stadler was maybe cuts a little bit adrift of Alex Mast earlier on. So it's great to see this divide. Certainly the consensus is a 1-stop, but as it stands, a 0-stopper is going to be the way to go, because Foggy and Warring are looking good for another XVR 1-2. And Sadler's looking pretty good for a 5th position as it stands, but of course, plenty of laps to go. And it'll be fascinating to see how this one ends up. Very close battling between Whiting, Buzan, and Taranto. Currently, all these drivers have made stops. However, Buzan made his on lap 2 as the Asiya Racing driver nearly makes contact to the NQR driver. So so close between these 3. So yeah, I'm not sure if any of them still need to come to the pits, because they all pitted early on. And it seems as though Whiting's currently got a bit of a queue behind them. Busan is desperate to get that move done. They got car 10 seconds up the road. It's a very high quality field out there today, so it's no shame with them being in 13th, 14th and 15th positions. And it's nice that they've found a few other drivers to have a battle with.
Yes. By the way, congratulations for getting right that Nicole Foggy was saving fuel earlier in the broadcast.
Ah, thank you very much.
Nice catch, that one. Certainly is not stopping anymore. This nice battle for the 2nd, 3rd and 4th spot in the club championship race. I find it always amusing that league organizer Clyde Whiting still has a yellow stripe on his car after all these years.
He might be on course for winning the championship this season, which I don't think he's ever done before. So he'd have to give himself a pro banner after that. Unfortunately, there's not too many club drivers around anymore. So many of these drivers are very experienced and have done well in the club championship in the past that they've kind of become a little bit too good for it. And so there's very few drivers who are kind of eligible for that anymore. Maybe a little bit of a rejig of the whole club pro system might be in order next season. Even KSW Racing has done a few seasons, I believe, the Year of the 8 Supercar series, still supporting that yellow banner. And it seems there's not going to be any move down into turn 3 this time. Down to 5 seconds now between 2nd and 3rd. Warmingham's pace dropping off a little bit. He's lapping a second slower than he was a few laps ago. And now 2 seconds faster than the last lap was Klusman. So like I said, 2 seconds a lap is what he needs. And now the Canadian can see the Englishman up the road.
You know, Tony sadly has already told us he won't be available for interviews today. He has commitments right after the race. Because it would have been... it's always interesting to talk to him. Let's see if he's able to get at least a 2nd place, as we have 4 laps left. 209.99 for Nicole Foggy. For Richard Warmingham we have a 210.5, and Tony Klusterman 208.55. Michael Evdoka was speculating in the chat, by the way, that no one took tires, only fuel for these guys, so the advantage of the pit stop in reality is only, according to him, that you don't have to save fuel, but apparently, according to him, none of the top runners took tires in the pits.
Okay, so this is properly representative then, there's no tyres being involved. Surely Alex Mast, though, he's absolutely nailing it out there. Really saying some good times. Low 2-minute 9, some 2-minute 8s for him. He's chasing down these two. Al Stadler holding up Johnny Brandon currently. Stadler might want to fight this one. It would explain maybe why he was a little bit cautious earlier on, as Brandon puts his nose down the inside, really too far back. Stadler did well to keep his eye in there, because Stadler, earlier on, it would explain why he was quite so passive amongst his fellow competitors, that he kind of thought, well, I just need to do the zero stuff, so I'll get these guys later on. All of a sudden now, this is fourth position, but he does have to save a lot of fuel, so it might be best for him to let past Brandon. Maybe tries to get into the slipstream, save a little bit of fuel that way. You can see lifting off the throttle so long currently is Stadler. Brandon looking to get the inside in a few of these corners where it's just impossible to overtake. And Alex Mass is now only 3 seconds behind, catching by 2 seconds a lap on these gyros. And Brandon's going to lose a lot more time. But just fascinating to watch this, Marco, because Stadler round past this circuit is just lifting off down the kind of the gradient areas, because he's just saying the car coasts around the circuit.
Exactly. Now it will be a good moment for Johnny to try and get the overtake done, as Warmingham is in the pits, by the way. Wow.
Ooh. Didn't save well enough then. This is going to really cost Richard Warmingham. He's going to be around these guys. It's not going to be a long pit stop for him as Brandon looks to the outside. No room through there. Stadler is becoming more aggressive in his defenses. He's going to have to go defensive for the final corner gain. Brandon isn't going to go for the dummy because the track's just not wide enough. He's going to go round the outside. Johnny Brandon, reigning champion. Stadler's got the exit though, and he should have the ideal line going down into turn 1, whereas Warming going to be in comparison. He's going to be around these guys. He's just ahead of these guys still. So Richard Warming's got away with that one. Brandon, though, round the outside at turn 1. He's now going to have the ideal line on Hal Stadler. A fantastic defense from him, but I think he's just going to come up short as Brandon moves ahead into 5th position. Is there any response from Stadler this time? He's trying to save as much fuel as possible, so expect him earlier on the brakes for turn 3. So nice work there from Brandon, but it may have just cost him an opportunity at having a go at Richard Warmingham up the road.
So, now the big question is Foggy, has Foggy been able to save enough? We will know in 3 laps time, as he goes dangerously close to the walls there. 3 laps, 2 laps and a bit left to be precise. Klusterman is 17 seconds behind Nicole Foggy. So, is he saving? Well, he is saving. Did he save enough? We will know very, very soon.
Yeah, I think, well, I was saying earlier on how Warmian was only half a second a lap slower than Foggy. I did think he was going a little bit fast. So Foggy should be okay, as Mass now onto the back of Stadler. It should be pretty simple for Alex Mass. He's got used to overtaking. It's been a fantastic performance from him. Started down in 10th position, got himself up into the top 5, made a pit stop, and has had to make a couple of positions up since then. But this one will be very good for him. And of course, if he can get this move done, he might be able to catch up to Johnny Brandon as well by the end of the race. It's going to be a good launch for Mass here. Maybe just having to get out of the throttle. Looking to the inside. Nice defense there from Stadler. Mass looking every which way for a way through. And he's going to have to go the same way as Brandon went, I think. This is where Stadler was very careful on the brakes last time. He's putting his car in the middle of the circuit. Mass looks to the inside. This is going to be a great move if he can put it off. Onto the curb he goes. He pushes Stadler off. And that's a fantastic move there from Alex Mass. I think Stadler thought he had it covered there, Marco. But Mass was having none of it.
A beautiful, beautiful move. Nothing less, nothing short of what we are now expecting from Alex Mass. Like I said, every time he jumps on the track, and that was a very, very good overtake. Aggressive, but very fair, as Nicole Foggy in the lead. 17 seconds, still he lapped 1 second slower than Klusterman, so pace-wise not a problem. Fuel-wise, that's another question. Let's go on board with him and put up the HUD and see and listen to how much he is costing right now, and you can see the gears he's using and the speed he's making.
Yeah, still going full throttle then down these straights. So that's a positive sign for him. Let's see how much he lifts off here. Less than he was earlier on, actually. I'd say he was pretty much flat out through the kink. So I think he's quite comfortable on fuel currently. He is Nick Offer. He's got 16 seconds. A pit stop would put him down in second position. Would still be good for the championship. But he's going to stay out once again. He's got the confidence to do his 19th lap on this tank of fuel. And the only driver bar Hal Stadler to have done this strategy. And it looks to be heading his way.
Alex
Massa has crashed. And that's commentator's curse once again from Marco Barbanera. And this is how it happened. He was chasing down Brandon. He could have got Brandon, but just pushing too hard. Locking the rear brakes. And unfortunately, and Stadler as well got involved. And Stadler's going to have to be careful now because he was on the limit of fuel, I believe. And with that damage, he's going to really struggle to get to the end of the race. So certainly keep an eye out on that one. Mass is only just ahead of Woodward now. He's only just ahead of O'Connor. So Mass might not even finish in the top 8 as it stands, which is crucial for the reverse grid. We've seen plenty of small reverse grids so far this season. And so they want to finish as high up as possible to make sure that they are involved in it.
Will we have finally the big one today? We shall see. We will have basically almost the entire field eligible for the reverse. Remember, you have to be on the lead lap. Tell you what, I think Nicole Foggy will be able to do it.
Yeah, he could. It's downhill for the last bit of the circuit, isn't it? So he could very much just put the clutch on and coast. He's got 15.5 seconds to spare. And the XVR driver, who has been in dominant form recently in the V8 Supercar Series, is looking, of course, for yet another victory. It would be his, as I frantically look to see how many race wins he's got so far this season, it'd be his 7th race victory. The next highest is 3 from his teammate Johnny Brandon. And he's edging closer to that inaugural championship victory for Season 6 of the season. As Nicole Foggy approaches the final corner here at Bathurst, he's going to win out in the sprint race. Nicole Foggy is your race 1 victor. And in dominant fashion, he made the no-stopper work like no one else could. Woodward has got ahead. Apologies, no, Woodward's had an issue. Bogotyrev is up into 7th position. So Mass and Woodward have seemingly come together in the closing stages as Bogotyrev now goes off the circuit, spinning up the tyres with just a few corners to go. Mass, with the damage, may have too much drag to move alongside his rival as they go side by side down into the kink. He's going to give up here. Bogotyrev almost not giving enough room. Mass nowhere to go, and I think it's going to be the 555 car to maybe just hang on to this one to the line.
Hello.
Mass is right on his tail. He's going to look to the inside, to the outside, but there's no way through, surely. Bogotyrev is going to hang on to this one, which would be an awesome result for him. Masso round the outside. Can he get the power down? It's going to be a run to the line, but Bogotyrev holds on by 0.5 of a second. Fantastic battle between the two of them. It's Bogotyrev who finishes in 7th place.
Yes, absolutely great racing in his first race of the night. And I have to say, I really enjoyed. These guys have been absolutely fantastic. Lots of dramas, lots of intrigue. As we have Gary Croft winning his class there in P11 overall. Here comes Greg Carnan. We'll have Clyde Whiting, Katie Rose Taranto, and Sam Buzin rounding up the club championship runners, and closing up the field will be Bill Switzer and Andrew Hoffman. Unsurprisingly, I think Nicole Foggy has parked the car almost. Well, he did 3/10 of the lap of the parade lap, so he had a bit of fuel left, I think. So masterful job from him. And, you know, despite, I think, being probably on the same setup, Richard Worthingham wasn't able to pull it off, and Richard is a great driver. So What a nice way to start the evening with a fuel mileage race and Nicole Foggy pulling off one of the best fuel saving moments of the history of the championship, I'd say.
Absolutely. Only two drivers pulled off the zero stopper, Stadler and Foggy. And in the end, it was that track position early on for Foggy, the fact that he could save fuel in those opening 6 laps or so without losing any time to his rivals, which proved to be absolutely crucial. You feel as though even with the one stop, he would have won with ease. And it's yet another victory, extending his championship lead, which was in real jeopardy after Imola, remember, where he had the hardware failure, but since then there has been absolutely no stopping him. He wins race 1 here at Bathurst ahead of Tony Klusterman, who didn't really put a foot wrong there. Just at that grid position perhaps lets him down in second place. Chris Jackson, a solid third despite a couple of issues. Richard Warming, solid fourth for him. He was only just ahead of Johnny Brandon after Warming had to adopt a late one stopper. Brandon had damage. Maybe would have been on the two stopper. Maybe would have been on the podium undoubtedly if it weren't for that crash early on when he was fighting Chris Jackson. Hal Stadler pulled off the zero stopper in 6th place with Nikolai Bogotayev. Great 7th place for him. Alex Mass was on course for potentially 5th place, maybe even 4th place. We're not quite sure. Ends up in 8th though after a late crash. Anthony Woodward had a crash as well, but still finished in 9th place with Lane O'Connor on his return to the series in 10th. There's Gary Croft and Greg Carr from Never Quit Racing with Clyde Whiting and Katie Reyes Torrento and Sam Beazer running out the top 15. And then it was Switzer and Hoffman, the two last drivers on the lead lap. And then Bingham and Frost were not on the lead lap in 18th and 19th places. So, Marco, I've talked a lot about it because I'm absolutely furious how small the reverse grids have been so far this season. Hopefully, we'll be in for a big one tonight.
Hopefully, yes, we have, and here it is, the reverse grid wheel on the screen right now. We have 17 drivers eligible for the reverse, and so let's roll it. It's going to be 9, and this means Anthony Woodward will have pole position, Alex Mas in second, Bogatyrev, Stedler, and Johnny Brandon in fifth. So top 9 gets reversed. It's going to be very, very interesting to see how these drivers will cope with it, especially what a good chance for Johnny Brandon starting in front of his rivals. And also I'm expecting a lot out of Alex Mas. This is a great chance for him. And of course Anthony Woodward will start from pole, so well, an exciting race too coming up in just a bit.
Absolutely, it should be certainly one to watch. It's going to be a pretty long second race, double the length of the first. We're certainly looking forward to it. Hopefully, you'll join us back in about 25 minutes' time for race 2 here at Bathurst. First one. Okay.
Growing up as a kid in Oklahoma, where I'm from, the Chili Bowl is the biggest race that we have.
Press the right. That's okay, I didn't press
The Chili
button.
Bowl has kind of been my favorite race of the year.
Now it's 40. Final time I can. So, currently playing.
Growing up a dirt racer in Oklahoma, that's kind of the holy grail.
There, and I'm playing. I could not. Game button. I hope that's
Thank you, Ollie.
We're almost out of fuel. You'll have to come in for a splash. Three, two, one, now. All clear. Punch it. Great job. You did really well.
Welcome back to the KSW Painting UV Supercar Series live on Apex Racing TV. We're just heading into race 2 of the evening, and race 1, Mark, it was absolutely superb. Plenty of wheel-to-wheel action. The strategy kept us guessing all the way through, and I think we're going to see pretty much a mirror image in this race 2. Apart from the fact, of course, it's going to be twice the length.
Exactly, twice the distance. We are racing in a twilight condition, and you can see the weather right now much better for this driver. So you can see the wind has slowed down significantly, only 11 kilometers per hour, and we have 27 degrees of track temperature, and I think that temperature is going to go down and down and down. Now, of course, for a second I thought, hey, maybe this race is going to end in almost nighttime because it's in November, but then I remember that we are on the other side of the world, so actually it's springtime. Even though, that being said, I think we will have some nice pictures of the sky as the evening goes on. Of course, 38 laps of excitement, I'd say. Let's go through the starting grid.
Yes, and after a reverse grid of 8 cars, it's Anthony Woodward on pole position. Alongside him is Alex Mass. Nikolai Bogatayev and Hal Stedler make up the second row of the grid, with Johnny Bradson and Richard Warman, the two XPI drivers, in 5th and 6th. There's Jackson and Klusterman, Foggy and O'Connor rounding out the top 10, and behind that it's Croft, Carr, Whiting, Taranto, Buzan, Switzer, Hoffman, Bingham, and Michael Frost. Once again, 19 cars on the starting line, and a big opportunity this market for Johnny Brennan. He's starting ahead, double the amount of points available for this race. I think this could be a fantastic race as long as Brendan can get a good start.
Yes, exactly. Now, we are expecting 2 stops for this race. Will it be true? Will people be able to save enough fuel to only make one? I'm certain that we might have tire stops both times, but I think we are ready to go, and there is no Johnny Brandon on the grid.
Yep, no Brandon, but it's Anthony Woodward from the pole position, and away we go at Bathurst, and it's a decent start for Woodward. He's going to be under a bit of pressure from Mass going into turn 1. Where's Bogatayev? He's going to go down the inside, almost contact between 2nd and 3rd positions. Stadler is in 4th position. Warmium, decent start. Good start for Clyde Whiting as well. He's gone up a position, but here comes Mass side by side for the race lead. Woodward on the outside, Mass on the inside. You got Bogatayev and Stadler keeping company just behind. Mass good on the brakes down into turn 3, and he's going to take the lead of the race here at Bathurst. Alex Mass leads the way. Anthony Woodward dropping back into 2nd position. Good start for Stanley. He's now got ahead of Bogatayev. That could be crucial as into the wall. A little bit of a roadblock, but fortunately they've got out of the way. That's Whiting, Carr, and Buzan, I believe, but almost out of the race. They will be able to take a faster pair, but that's not the start they wanted whatsoever. But already Alex Mass making a lead out in 1st position.
Yes, so Johnny Brandon isn't even in the pits, so maybe a connection issue. He basically isn't in the server, from what I can gather from my position, basically. And that is a big hit to his championship aspiration right now, so Nicole Foggy has a massive chance. Sitting now in P8 behind Jackson and Klusterman, but his biggest, closest title rival is not on the track, and even if he manages to come back on the track, it's going to be super tough for him to get anything out of this race.
Yeah, he's disconnected once again, as Brandon, he's disconnected and reconnected from the session several times, so seemingly some kind of issue for him, which he cannot resolve. Here comes Foggy, first up. Klusterman. He's looking to the inside, but Klusterman will be desperate to hang on to this position. You can see these top, sorry, not these top 4, with Brandon Cross out of the race. You very much feel say it's Jackson, Klusterman, and Foggy the favourites for this one. Warmingham's under big pressure from Jackson currently. And he's just having to defend. Here comes Jackson, though, round the outside. Will he try to get the cutback for the next corner? They're potentially holding each other up as Foggy's almost off the circuit with Klusman on the inside as well. And Klusman's always making contact with his teammates. We've seen the two of them come together at the home circuit at Montreal before. Fortunately, the same doesn't occur this time. Foggy trying to get the move done on Klusman. He's going to have to go defensive. It's the Canadian, but Foggy going to go to the outside. How brave is he on the brakes? I don't think he's going to have enough to get past Klusman here, and he actually doesn't at the moment. So also O'Connor keeping him company as well just behind. So fantastic battling right now, Marco, because whilst this is the battle for 6th, 7th and 8th currently, it's effectively the race for the win.
Yes, I mean, we don't know how the race is going to evolve, but it's probable that we will have these three guys come at the end of the race fighting it out for the race win. In the front of the field, meantime, Alex Mas is pulling away 2 seconds in front of Ant Woodward, then Stedler, Bogatyrev, Wormingham. You see all these guys here in having a nice train all together. As Stedler tried to put on a move on Woodward earlier, wasn't successful when we were showing this fight here. We will stay here. I think this is really a train that will provide us with some great racing as they go back to Conrod Straight for the second time, and they will have to do it 38 times overall to get home, these drivers here. So a very, very long and tough race. A pit window, I think, will open around lap 4 for the first stop.
Yeah, it really depends if they go for the one-stopper or not. We saw in the first race it's possible, but with the cooler track temperatures, it's going to be that much more difficult to pull off the one-stopper in this race. It'll be interesting because if the two-stopper is the way to go, then expect drivers in very, very soon, as we've got lockups just ahead. I think that may have been Bogatyrev. I'm not quite sure, but here comes Jackson. He's going to try to go for Emilio Soy. He's going to lose out to Klusman. So Klusman down the inside into turn 1. A swap of positions for the teammates. And now Jackson's got to make sure that he stays ahead of Foggy. But here comes Foggy down the inside. Is there anything Jackson can do? A really poor exit for him. Klusman's trying to carry his teammate along with him. But if anything, it's probably better to go and box in Foggy if they possibly can. But Foggy's good on the brakes, and Foggy's going to move ahead of Chris Jackson. And that's a crucial move, and a little bit clumsy there from the Never Quit Racing drivers for Foggy's to be able to make a move like that.
Well, Foggy had a fantastic run there. The fact that they were swapping positions, the NQR drivers, maybe slow them down just a bit, and that's exactly the invitation that Foggy needed. And now he's up to P7, Klusterman in 6th, Jackson in 8th. Bogatyrev is holding on his top 4 for the moment, but Richard Wormingham seems to be looking very, very intently on that 4th place, with Stedler also trying to get as close as possible to Anthony Woodward, even though it seems like Woodward has been lapping just a bit quicker in recent laps. Well, it's only lap 3, so... Oh, and... Ooh. Stedler making a mistake, and now the door is open for Bogatyrev and Wormingham.
Yeah, all in a fantastic chain. Here comes Wormingham. If he ducks out of this one, he's going to lose the slipstream. But Stadler maybe going to give him the slipstream instead. He's moving alongside. Stadler losing time to the pair of them. Wormingham's going to get one of them here. He might even get 2. Almost contact between the 2 of them. Bogatyrev just keeping his nose in there. He's going to have the inside for the next corner. Here comes Foggy trying to get past Klusman. He's now going to try to get past Bogatyrev, who almost loses it almost into the wall. Where will Foggy go? He's going to go to the outside. Is this going to invite Jackson in with a chance as well? Because he's going to have absolutely nowhere to go there. Will the XVR driver. And now he's on the outside again. We could even see 3 wide. Here comes Jackson down the inside of Bogatyrev. Is he going to go down the inside of Foggy as well? No. He's going to just go down the inside of Bogatyrev for now. But that was good racing from the lots of them. And Bogatyrev loses 3 positions in a couple of corners.
From P3 backwards, that was fantastic racing. And now Stedler under pressure from Wormingham, who takes the outside as they go into Griffin Bend, maybe leaving the door open for Klusterman. Yes, that's exactly what happens. So Warmingham now losing another position, I think, to his teammate Nicole Foggy. So maybe some team courtesy there. But Aaron Stedler, if he looks in the mirror, he has an extremely long train of cars behind him, and I'm trying to get a clever pun, but not getting it very easily. So yeah, let's focus on the racing, because Tony Klusterman and Nicole Foggy are once again very close to each other, and now they are thinking about the next move, which is trying to pass Harald Stedler.
Yeah, the Stadler steam engine perhaps is an appropriate way of putting it, because he is under big pressure and he has got quite a few cars behind him.
I wanted to say the Stadler Steamboat, but you basically beat me to it somewhat.
So, he's going to be under pressure this time from Kloosterman. Will he put up too much of a fight? He's usually quite a simple driver. Here's Hal Stadler. He's sticking to the outside for now. Foggy's just going to try to go whichever way Kloosterman goes, I imagine, to just not lose any time to his main rival in this race. Stadler's keeping his car on the inside there. It's going to be problematic for Foggy. He's off the circuit. Does make his way through just about, though. Stadler's not going to fight back, surely, as just behind comes Warmingham and also Jackson as well. He's going to go to the outside, almost into the back of Stadler, but that could be a great move there from Chris Jackson, and it certainly is. Moves ahead of Richard Warren. That was a crucial move. Next up for him will be Stadler, but he may have to wait until the end of the next lap to go for an overtake. As long as Stadler's exit here is decent, and it is still 3.5 tenths of a second separates the two of them. So have now got Mass leading the way by 5 seconds. Woodward 2 seconds ahead of Klusman, and then we've got that big pack of Foggy and Stadler and Jackson, Warmingham, Bokataev, O'Connor and Croft.
Wow, what a way to start the main race today. 5 very action-packed laps, and there are several more left.
Oh, and round goes Stadler, and this could be big problems for a lot of drivers, and it certainly is. Stadler round after driving so well for so long, and you can see he's caused big damage to his car there. This is how it happened. Was it contact from behind, or was it a self-spin? Oh, it was contact from behind.
Contact there, and you see many drivers getting involved in that mess. So
Jackson, I believe, was the one who hit him on the corner.
Yes, I think it was Chris Jackson there. It was certainly an NQR machine, if I'm not mistaken. Let's see once again. Yes, it was. Let's go back to Chris Jackson's on board. And then you can see the carnage behind. Certainly, I think I think Chris Jackson waited for Harald Stadler there. But you know, the damage has been done right now, sadly. But long race. They have time to make up the time that they lost, but certainly not a good way to start your race. And look at the amount of damage on the rear end of Stadler car. Is missing completely the rear side of his Holden, and now another bit of contact there. And Stadler gets the move done and doesn't go into the pits, surprisingly. By the way,
so
I think Tony jumped Nicole Foggy, or
no, he's always been ahead of Foggy.
Okay.
Oh, and into the wall goes
Gary Croft.
registering him as into the pits. On our screen, you can see why that is the case. And so we've seen a few calamities here. He was on the tail of Lane O'Connor and Richard Warmingham, and he's just dropped that there and into the wall hard. We'll have to wait and see how much damage that has caused for him.
Oh, Anthony Woodward with an issue, dropped from second to fourth while we were watching the replay.
Wow, hard into the wall again.
Oh dear.
Plenty of mistakes from drivers now after such a exemplary first race and start of this second race as well, but plenty of mistakes creeping in now.
Absolutely, many mistakes all around. And of course, in a long race like this, once again, yes, you have 2 pit stops so you can balance your strategy, but you don't want to leave anything on the table, because otherwise it's going to be very, very tough to get back to where you were. And that, of course, especially true for Jackson and Stadler, as Foggy now fancying his chances here at the chase.
Looks to the outside of Kloosman, which does turn into the inside. Kloosman just putting his car in the middle of the circuit. We saw at Zolder early on with the in the season with the with Foggy, Brandon, and Evdoka, just how much time you can lose in this V8 supercar when you start defending. And it's just going to help Alex Mass, who's now 6 seconds up the road from these drivers. Here comes Stadley. He's going to try to. Is he coming back at Jackson? Yes.
Yes.
Well, last time around this part of the circuit, this time Jackson sweeps around the outside, and very problematic few laps for those guys. Woodward has come into the pits as we see side by side. Foggy moving ahead of Klosterman. Is there any resistance put up by the Canadian? No, there isn't, and it's crucially Nicole Foggy moves up into second position.
Oh, they
Klosterman will try
touch!
to come back. A little bit of a touch. Foggy's really deep on the brakes. Klosterman very early on the brakes, and that is a crucial move there from Nicole Foggy, and he's well on course for his second race victory of the evening now.
I want to see it again, because I think there was definite contact, and Tony decided to lift a bit in order to avoid turning around Foggy. Let's see it once again. Oh wow, that was inches away from disaster.
Yeah, you saw how Foggy's car really lost the rear a lot when they just came down the crest. It's now 1.5 seconds between the two of them. The important thing is that Foggy has got track position, and he certainly does seem to have the edge over Klosterman this evening. Alex Mass currently has the edge on everyone as it stands. He's been faultless so far. Foggy's going to inevitably catch him by the end of this race, but it has been superb from Mass for the first quarter of an hour of this event. And he's certainly on course for a podium potentially at the moment. Wonder if that will play on his mind, or whether he'll still try to defend against Foggy when the XVR driver catches him later on. We are getting into pit stop realm, I guess. Lap 12, 13 could be an opportunity for the drivers on 2 stops. Of course, lap 20-ish for the drivers on a 1 stop, if that is a potential. Really, all the battles calming down for now. Expect a few drivers who are out of position as it stands, like Jackson and maybe Woodward and Stadler as well. He had issues earlier on to very much come back at one another later on. Bogota is still running well in 4th, which has been one of his best evenings I can recall for him in this series. Has absolutely nailed this V8 car so far today. But it's Richard Warren closing in on him, and Lane O'Connor as well with his return to the series, doing very well in 6th position and keeping them honest.
Well, certainly moment of the race where the things are calming down a little bit, but usually we know in the series when this happens it's just a calm before the storm, as Foggy is not leaving anything on the table. He's pushing really hard. Tony Klosterman is still sitting there 1.5 seconds, and I think Tony has of course knows it's a long race, so he's playing the long game. Luckily they didn't crash out last lap. We had that crazy moment there, as I think Anthony Woodward and Greg Carr are going at it as they go up the hill. The 2 NQR teammates, Greg Carr for NQR North America and Anthony Woodward for NQR UK, as I think Greg Carr is missing an important part of his car, if I'm not mistaken. And no pun intended, of course. Yes, there is no wood on that car.
Yeah, so he's losing maybe a little bit of time. As Mass all it.
Oh well, I saw his name flashing red, and I immediately thought about the worst. He is still going, but he will get a slowdown for this, and that's something you want to avoid as much as possible if you have Nicole Foggy chasing you.
Yeah, so that 6-second gap he had, or 5-second gap he had fallen to, you can see how tough it is on the brakes. And gave up on the corner very early on. Perhaps the wise thing to do. Woodward getting past Carr. Round the outside, nice move there from Anthony. So up into the top 10 once again. Next up for him, Andrew Hoffman, who's having an awesome run. We haven't really talked about Andrew too much. But after a spin in race 1, lap 1, he's up in 9th position. Also, Bill Switzer doing very well in 8th place. These two have just kept the car clean. They're a couple of seconds off the pace of the other midfield drivers, but with the issues for Woodward, Carr, Stadler, and Buzan, and a couple of others, of course, Brandon not taking the starts, they have very much profited from that and are having superb races so far. Warming getting closer to Bugtive now.
Yes, going up the hill. Birmingham certainly seems poised to have a go at Bogatyrov come at the end of this lap, maybe next lap. But first, of course, you have to survive this section of the track, which is easier said than done. And
Johnny Brandon has said apparently his wheel wasn't working, wasn't connected.
Oh wow. And he had pedal issues at Nürburgring, if you remember. And I think he was able to drop that round. He will be able to drop that round, but at this second race here, he is going to have to live with a big 0, I think, for the rest of the season. That's a big hit to his championship aspirations, Sam.
Definitely, and he's, of course, Michael Abduka as well, missing his second race of the season, or his second meeting of the season. Of course, George McClay didn't start the season. It's all opening up for Nicole Foggy, who missed out on last season's championship relatively narrowly. Brandon won fair and square, but Foggy did have a couple of issues as the season went on. But this season, he's pretty much put everything together, apart from that race 2 at Imola, where he where he picked up 0 points. It has been pretty much perfect from him since then. He really needs something kind of external going on off the circuit for him to stop his charge to this championship. His charge to this race victory as well is looking very strong. He's 2 seconds behind Alex Mass, a purple lap that last time round, 2 minutes 6.7. He was in the 2-minute 9s for the most part in race 1, saving fuel and of course the warmer temperatures back in that race 1 as well. Certainly feel as though everyone's on a 2-stop with the way that they are attacking this Bathurst circuit. I imagine the driver who will pit first here, Marco, will be Tony Kliesman. He has got to roll the dice in order to get track position back on Nicole Foggy.
I think so. I agree with you. I think that is going to be the case. We'll see which other drivers take that chance. I would imagine drivers who, once again, like you said, want to get their track position back or have nothing to lose. You know, if they pit early and they get in traffic, no problem. As Woodward and Hoffman into the cutting.
Ooh,
Oh.
Hoffman's nearly into the wall. He's absolutely nailed it though, round the circumference of that corner and stays ahead of Anthony Woodward.
Exactly. Wow. He couldn't have been any closer to the wall without actually touching it, and it was, you know, one of those moments that you look back if you are able to make it in one piece in the end of the race, because it's, you know, very easy to then, you know, destroy your car there. Hoffman looking.
Oh, that was close.
I hold my thought. I was saying looking now a bit more safer, and of course he almost beat the car, so I will keep my thoughts to myself in the meantime. Let's switch nowhere. I have to say, remain here because seems like now Woodward has a good run.
Yeah, this should be pretty simple. Hoffman not playing up too much of a fight. Has got better straight line speed, I think, has Hoffman, although Woodward proceeds to completely prove me wrong. I think Hoffman just lifting out of the throttle there. Woodward up into 9th position. Warmingham still trying to get past Bogatyrov. And I do say this every meeting. And I know Warming is probably going to turn up at my house, which is probably going to turn up at my house and say, "Stop saying this about me, Sam." But he is quite a cautious driver. Usually, it does gets him a lot of points. But if he wants to finish on the podium, he's got to get this move done quite soon because Alex Mas is still 13.5 seconds up the race. Very much possible, though, for the XVR driver to make up that gap by the end of this race. Around this part of the circuit, absolutely no way through for him. Good car is into the pits. He's quite a far way back from these drivers. Here is the race lead then. Mas has done awesome for these first 10.5 laps. But on lap 11, maybe his race lead is going to come to an end. We ought to have some super sprints around this circuit because if it were for some super sprints, Mas would be in with a great chance of winning a race. But here comes Foggy. Is Mas going to resist or is he just going to try to keep that podium for now? Here comes Foggy down the inside into the kink. You'll have the outside for the 90-degree corner. Mas is going to try to keep it in there. A little bit tentative on the brakes, so can he get it stopped? Both of them are a little bit off the circuit. Foggy's wide. And where is Klusman in relation to this? I don't think he's going to quite catch up. Here comes Warmingham. Will it be success this time for XVR? Or he's going to have to go all the way around the outside of Bogatire. He's keeping his nose in there. Awesome move there from Richard Warmingham. I said he was a bit tentative. There was nothing tentative about him that time. And he moves up into 4th position. Foggy stays ahead of Klosterman, but he's going to have to stay behind Mas once again down the next straight as Bogatai comes into the pits, the first driver to come into the pits out of the front runners.
And Alex Mas, I was expecting this out of him as Jackson goes in as well. He is not giving up easily on the lead. And now Alex Mas is Tony Klusterman's biggest friend. He keeps defending. I think Tony will be on the back of Nicole very, very quickly, and that might change the strategy for all three of these drivers. Remains to be seen if this time around Nicole will have a better run through the chase, and if Alex is able to cope under pressure, because if there's been, of course, one thing where he has to really improve on is, crashing ratio. Sometimes he tends to make mistakes, which is completely understandable given the way he drives and given that he's relatively new to the car, and it's a long adaptation process when you are trying to drive a V8 supercar. So, will we have round 2 here on Conrad Straight?
He should just be okay this time round. He opened up about a 1.1 second lead when Foggy made that mistake. It's still got 5.5 tenths of that lead, and so he should be okay in the braking zone, although the final corner and turn 1 is going to be under big pressure, and that's where Foggy managed to get the move done on Klosterman. Remember, recently, Klosterman's had a poor lap this time, really has not made any time up on these two, as Mas is really under pressure there, locking up the rear brakes. But he's pretty much got a decent exit, just a little bit of wheel spin right at the end of that traction zone, and he's having to defend against Nicole Foggy currently. Foggy trying to get the cut back, but Mas just getting it stopped on the apex. Nowhere for him to go as Klusman comes into the pits, and probably the right call. So whilst these two fight, he might just have a chance for the Canadian to undercut the pair of them. Foggy has to make this move straight away if he wants to keep the race lead. Mas going to the inside. Narrow circuit here, there's no way through for Foggy despite his overtakes on the inside at this corner earlier on. Over the crest they go into turn 2. How brave is Foggy on the outside? The wall is very close on the outside here. Mas will try to hang it round, and almost into the wall goes Foggy, but good defense there from Alex Mas, and he's going to hold on to the lead for now. But this is just helping Tony Klusman currently, who's coming out of the pits as we talk.
This is exactly what Tony wanted when he entered the pits. He said, please Alex, keep the position at least for half of this lap, even maybe more if you can. And that's why Nicole Foggy was so desperate to make the move, going around the outside, almost making it work, but not quite. And now, once again, he will have to opt for a good run through the downhill section, and then maybe a an overtake attempt going into the chase. As you can see, most of the track is now in the shadows, which is very, very interesting, and I say very, very picturesque as we are about to finish another lap. Will Nicole Foggy go for the pits, or will he go for a move? Or will he go to the pits if he doesn't make a move?
You'd think you'd want to do the opposite, as you say, of Alex Mass, but it's quite difficult to tell what your opponent's going to do. You're not going to go for the move this time. Mass defending right to the inside, implying maybe that he's going to stay out, otherwise you'd think he'd just stay on the racing line. Which one of these will come into the pits? I think Foggy is trying to do the opposite. No, they're both going to stay out. Almost onto the grass, on the brakes, and Foggy's going to go off the circuit here. And he has faced big problems trying to get past Alex Mass, and more problems for him there. He could have come into the pits. He stayed out, and he's going to lose more time now behind the resilient 444 car.
Well, exciting stuff. That's the only thing I can say, because Alex Mass is defending hard, but defending very, very fair. I am absolutely loving this. Hopefully he doesn't crash, because he is having the race of his life right now. And probably he won't win, because I think in the end, on pure pace, Foggy and Tony are quicker, and with the way the pit stops will work, I think they will have the advantage, the upper end strategy-wise. But my goodness, he's really holding his head very, very high against basically, runner-up of last season, and now number one title contender for this season, Nicole Foggy. So fantastic stuff from Alex, and Foggy is 2 seconds behind. So now, if I was Nicole now, I would go to the pits, I think. Unless he has confidence in his tires that they can last. Tony Klusterman, by the way, is here, and he has no cars in front of him and no cars behind him. 11 seconds Lane O'Connor in front, 11 seconds Anthony Woodward behind. He is posting purple sectors all around. So certainly he's enjoying his car after the pit stop.
Certainly, if I were Foggy, I'd probably stay out one more lap, because he won't catch Mass for another lap, so may as well do one more lap. And then just absolutely fill the car to the brim with fuel, put some fresh tyres on it, and lose the position to Klinsmann, but maybe get him later on. Mass stays out, Foggy stays out. If they get to lap 19, then they can get to the end of the race. Remember, just on the one stopper. So do watch out for that, because we're on lap 15 now. But we have been thinking, due to the fact that they've been leaving nothing on the table so far in this race, no lifting and coasting as far as we have seen, we do think that they're all going to be on the two-stopper, and with the fact that the track is a bit cooler this time, everyone should be on the two-stopper for this one. Bogotaya very close to Switzer as we cut to it, just at the perfect time. 7th position this battle for. And Bogotá is going to go past there. Bogotá already with a pit stop as Switzer goes round. Klinsmann in again as he sped in the pit lane. And Tony Klinsmann, from a fantastic position to potentially win today's race, has potentially undone all that good work. He's back into the pits, and what a costly mistake that's going to be.
Yes, absolutely. I'm trying to get to his pit stop. I mean, if he sped coming in, he would have had a penalty straight away. Did he cut the white line? Doesn't seem like so. Or maybe it's a strategy, you know, he's pitting again, but no, I don't think it's going to work.
I don't think so.
Wow. It's Bathurst. It wouldn't be Bathurst. Oh! In front of the leaders! Man, oh man, Michael Frost almost collecting Mass and Foggy, and now Foggy maybe using a little bit of hesitation from Mass will try and make the move. He knows that Tony has stopped again.
Here he goes, down the inside into the kink. Mass has defended superbly so far. Round the outside he goes. Can he get it stopped though? for the left-hander. Yes, he can. Foggy will try to keep his nose around the outside, but there's nowhere for him to go. And for the third time, he has to escort himself off onto the grass. Will either of them pit this time? I think Foggy is in. Yes, he is. So into the pits comes Nico Foggy. He's going to try to get the undercut. He's tried several times to get it done on circuit. Now going to try to get it through the pits. This is his first pit stop, of course, of the day after he did a 0-stopper in race 1. But, well, probably the right decision there, and he will be well clear of the likes of Klusman when he comes out.
Sorry, I'm going once again to Tony's pit stop because I think his first stop was 23 seconds in the pistol. The second stop was 16 seconds, so I think he had a penalty. I'm trying to guess. I have no idea.
It won't be the pit exit, will it?
I mean, he didn't touch the white line, or you have to get 2 wheels across it to get the penalty. Maybe he removed the limiter too early. Once again, let's watch it for one more time.
Maybe could have picked up a slowdown and didn't serve it, perhaps.
Let's keep an eye on the wheel. Wow, that's very tough to judge. Sadly, we don't have the HUD overlay for replays because we could have had an idea. But you know, his pit stall is basically immediately next to the cones, so there's not much time to pick up the speed necessary to speed, you know, in the pit. So, well, hopefully we will know more in the coming minutes. So, where is Nicole Foggy? He's here. Clean track in front, clean track behind. Importantly, in front he has a teammate, so he won't have 2 teammates. So in the eventuality he gets to them, he will not have to pass them by fighting hard. They will simply move out of the way, as it is normal, I'd say. So will Alex Mas pit? And the answer is yes.
Poor second sector for Mas on this lap. He lost 1 second just through sector 2. And so this is going to be a mighty pit stop for him to stay ahead. It wasn't a great pit stop from Foggy, so it really depends on how much fuel Mas takes. Remember, they've got a lot of leeway because this is on the edge of a 1-stopper. They are all going for a 2-stopper. They'd have to go a few more laps than this in order to get the 1-stopper to work. Mas is obviously taking tyres. He needs to have a probably 50-second pit stop to stay ahead of Foggy. He's currently on 35 seconds. Of course, tyres and fuel taken at the same time. Here comes Foggy. He's going to be passed, I believe. So it really had to be very quick from Alex Mas. And he's still stationary. So Foggy's way clear. So it must have been an awful lap for Alex Mas for some reason.
And it's a super long stop. 32 seconds.
Yeah, actually, you're right.
Terrible pit stop for Alex Mas. More than 1 minute in the pit lane. 32 seconds in the pit. That's by far the longest normal stop we've had today. So either he fueled the car to basically almost the point of explosion and he's hoping to go to the end, or I don't know, because that was a super long stop.
Maybe we could see his pit entry, maybe see if he got a 15-second pit penalty. That would make sense. But you're absolutely right, no one else with a pit stop within 5 seconds of that.
Not this one, this one.
It's so difficult to tell what you actually get away with, though, on the pit entry, because everyone cuts this corner. And it should be okay with that. And he certainly got the car down to the speed. Well, we desperately need some interview. Unfortunately, we're not going to get an interview with Tony. Hopefully he'll explain, though, on Discord later on. He's now down in 8th position after that extra pit stop he had to make. He would be in the lead right now, would Tony Klusman, by a few seconds. If it weren't for that extra pit stop he had to make, we think it was a penalty of some description, a 15-second penalty they had to take. Next, first up for him is Harold Stadler. He's been in the wars himself. Quite remarkable how he's currently in 7th position. Here comes Tony. Stadler putting his car to the middle of the circuit, almost in fact, actually, saying to the side of the circuit. Policeman down the inside and up into 7th place. Next up for him, his own teammate, Chris Jackson.
So, well. A race that is really throwing us everything. We had many different crazy moments so far, and let's see, we are halfway home, so we have another half of the race left where anything can happen. So far, Nicole Foggy is in the lead, 14 seconds ahead of Alex Mas, and that was thanks to a much quicker pit stop. In pit lane time especially, but also the fact that Foggy pitted earlier and was able to complete the undercut. He had better pace than Alex Mas, that was clear. But of course, one thing is to have better pace, another is to be able to pass on the track. Especially, you know, Bathurst is not an easy place where you can pass, because for can we say 80% of the lap you have to follow your opponent. There is no way through here unless you are absolutely desperate and confident. And Alex Mas, oh, lucky boy once again. Man, I'm surprised, because usually when people go out there, they then smash into the wall on the left. Today we had 3 offs, big offs there, and everyone lived to tell the tale.
It seems like everyone's missing that curb. Usually if you put a wheel onto the outside curb, absolutely huge.
Oh!
And he kind of straight lined it, didn't he? He realized that he wasn't going to make the corner and just launched himself as square onto the curb as he possibly could. Yeah, pretty good there from Alex Mas. So yeah, lives to tell the tale. 2 seconds ahead of Ashley Woodward's, ever so close in that midfield. We've got Stadler to Mas, separated by 15 seconds. That second to 8th. And of course, the likes of Stadler and Kloosman and Jackson all coming back at those drivers at the front of this pack. The chase for the podium is anything but decided currently. Very difficult to call, of course, with these second pit stops coming in as well. So Richard Warren puts in a 2 minute 6.8 superb lap there from the XBR driver, up in 4th place.
Yes, especially considering, you know, being this a very long race, not easy to keep your concentration all the way through, to, you know, keep doing fast laps as the halfway point has been reached is absolutely good, as now I think Jackson and Klosterman are on the radio with each other. Let's see if Jackson will make it easy or if they will have freedom to fight. No, it's a long broadcast, this one, and it's a good thing we are doing it on a Saturday instead of Easter Sunday, because I don't know if you know this, but in Italy we have a tradition on Sunday, on the Easter Sunday morning, to have breakfast, but with wine, red wine, instead of, you know,
Wow.
and, yeah, and salami and all that nice chocolate, of course, but red wine especially. So you could guess that by the time as Jackson clips the wall there, by the time you get you know, to proper lunch, you know, the wine has been flowing, and it will flow again at lunch, of course. So good thing it's on a Saturday.
Oh, we merely have many Easter egg here in the UK. I'm sure several children. I don't really know why I'm saying children, because I don't think any children's watch this. Looking at our demographics, it is quite slanted. I think about 95% of our audience are males between 16 and 34. As down the inside goes Warmingham, and past he goes Anthony Woodward, which was a very important move. As off goes Warmingham. So he undoes that good work, and I thought, well, that's made that look very easy. But he's had a mistake there, and all of a sudden that's really compromised him, because he was on course to get past Woodward. Could have caught up to Alex Mas as well, and this mistake has really cost Richard Warren poorly. And unlike Mas earlier on, he didn't have the confidence or maybe had the maturity not to speed across the grass, but it lost him yet more time.
And that was a bit sad because that lap Warmingham had the fastest first sector out of everyone, so he was really pushing hard with good pace. But of course, this mistake undoing all the good work, like you said, that it did so far. And like we saw for a split second, Tony Klusterman went by Chris Jackson, so he's up to P6. Next in line will be Nikolai Bogatyrov, and the lights are on. Oh, he caught the moment straight. Beautiful, perfect timing. Okay, so I can say that this is officially a night race, Sam.
Awesome. Like you said, well, it's currently 7:30 in the evening. I'm surprised it's no, actually, the timing, the light is about correct, isn't it? Could be problematic though. For all these drivers come the end of the race. Expect sunset around 9ish. So could be a bit dark when we do the interviews at the end.
Exactly. Let's not forget once again that it's in November, the race in the simulator, which is springtime in Bathurst. So we are not going to. If it was like northern hemisphere, it would be very dark right now. We had a nice sunset race and then night race today in SRA at lunchtime. It was a beautiful doubleheader in Sebring. But yeah, so Real VF Supercars are having a night race since last season, and well, why shouldn't we have it? As Warmingham take 2 on Woodward. Can he stop the car? Yes, this time it works.
Woodward struggling for pace a little bit in the 2-minute 10s currently, which isn't quite like him. Yeah, losing about 2 seconds on this lap to Richard Warmingham. Bogatyrov gets scared off the circuit by Klusterman. Up into 5th position now goes Klusterman. Also, Jackson's going to be very close as well, racing along. Not going to quite catch him into turn 1. I must say the headlights do look superb on this V8 supercar. Don't do a whole lot, though, to the headlights on iRacing generally. Anyone who's going to race in the Nürburgring 24 hours is going to find out the pains of that. How you can kind of see about 10 meters in front of you with the headlights in pitch black, and that doesn't do you a whole lot of good. Here comes Jackson using the immense amount of grip you get on the inside of that turn to he's past Nikolai Bogatyrov now. They are about to overtake Kateris Trento.
Now, don't quote me on this, but I think that there will be an update to the headlights coming soon. As they acknowledge that on the forums that the headlights should be more powerful and at a different angle than what we have now. But by the way, if you like night racing, in 2 weeks we have the best of the best, an endurance race at Charlotte Roval. And it will be, of course, starting at night, if I'm not mistaken. And the middle part of that racetrack is not lit up. The oval is, but the new infield road course is not. And it's a track where the track limits are non-existent, so we might see some great racing all around for the last enduro of the season. Even though I might consider this one a half enduro here in Bathurst, and I'm super happy because the more we race around here, the better it is. And right now we are in for some more goodness, because there are still some laps to go as Anthony Woodward joins the pit party and is in. This will be his second stop.
Yeah, he's going to have to stretch this next tank a little bit, but he's got 18 laps to get it. So yeah, that's going to be 17 laps to get. So that shouldn't be too bad, but he's certainly on the cusp.
17?
Woodward, he's pushed it.
Okay, I won't talk about mathematics. It's very bad. Luckily, I didn't have to do any calculation on my first ever broadcast. Otherwise, I would have been fired straight away. I was going... Yeah, go ahead.
Well, are you just thinking, is it 38 minus 22? And so you're thinking it's 16?
I don't want to talk about this.
Okay. As long as you didn't think it was like 50 laps to go or something,
No.
you're okay, I think.
Look at that
But it's
sunset there.
yeah. Well, unfortunately, my graphic setting is so low, I can't.
Oh, okay.
So,
Which
but
color is the
in
sky
my
for your?
mind, it looks superb.
Which color do you have for the sky then? Because it's a beautiful orange here.
Yellowy.
Okay.
But I think it's the same as you, but there's just no detail. So I've kind of
Okay.
just got. It's you know on Publisher, where you like fill in a rectangle with like a gradient filler.
Mm-hmm.
It looks a bit like that. That's the
Okay.
best way I can put it, I think. I can't see the sun.
So, Foggy in the lead, and he has 20 seconds over Alex Mas. Richard Wormingham is sitting in third. Tony Klusterman is coming back at him. You see him in P4 right now. And Chris Jackson following behind his teammate. This is your top 5. In the club championship race, Gary Croft is your race leader. And he has a little bit of an advantage over Clyde Whiting, like half the track more or less. Then we have Sam Buzin and Katie Ross Taranto, and that's it, because Michael Frost and Peter Bingham are sadly out of the race as Arash Stedler comes into the pits for his second stop on lap 7, one of the no-stop heroes in race 1. Usually that is a term that we use in a derogatory manner on the oval side, the no-tire heroes, the guys that when there's a caution towards the end of the race stay out in hopes of making it through, and usually they are the guys that the tires are so destroyed that usually they either spin straight away or in the first couple of laps kill the entire field trying to stay on the front. But in this case I'm using it in a positive way because it was really a great achievement, and unlucky for Harald, he also had that issue in the final couple of laps, but he got a good finishing position regardless, and now he's out of the pits. Straightforward strategy this time around for himself, as he's coming out of the pits right now in 10th place. And now we will be waiting for almost everyone in front of him to pit. Let's keep an eye on the Richard Wormingham here, as he's about to close the gap to Alex Mas. Is gaining a bit lap by lap, and faster than Mas are both Klusterman and Jackson, though they are behind, a bit behind, but not that much, as you can see right now. Well, no, they are very close, in fact, to Wormingham and Mas. So it's going to be a nice finish for the podium spots, I would say, Sam.
Absolutely. I've got some good news for Alex Mas. The last pit stop for Anthony Woodward, which would have been a full tank of fuel as Klusterman comes into the pits, was a 1 minute and 4 second pit stop. Mas did a 1 minute and 2. So it seems as though Mas has just filled up the fuel, unlike everyone else at that first pit stop. So Mas shouldn't have actually picked up a penalty and will actually be going as further than anyone else on this second stint of the race, and will have very little fuel to put in the car at the end of the race. Whether or not that'll work for him or not is a question, but certainly in terms of strategy, he's looking pretty good at the moment. Klusterman, of course, into the pit, so he's going to have to put lots of fuel in that car. So Mas was about 10 seconds ahead of Klusterman. Klusterman's going to have to put in about 10 seconds extra fuel, so Klusterman's going to have to make about 20 seconds back up on Mas to the end of the race. There is a decent length of the race to go, but it's not looking fantastic for Tony, who actually had a pretty quick pit stop, 50 seconds overall. So will be on a charge. He's got ahead of Anthony Woodward, 16 seconds to Lane O'Connor. He'll be looking now to jump Richard Wormingham. Wormingham pitted in on lap 16, so I expect Wormingham to go quite a bit further in this race. So Klusterman's really got the opportunity now to undercut Wormingham, maybe even get close to Mas as well with that undercut.
And let's not forget, Tony had 3 stops, so reminds us of the day when Michael Schumacher, I think in Magny-Cours, was able to win a race by doing 3 pit stops and a penalty.
4. Oh, sorry. Okay.
Yeah, 3+1, I think. He had three pit stops and a stop and go penalty, if I'm not mistaken. Such was the advantage that Ferrari had, and when I hear people comparing, oh, Alex Mas in the grass. Behind him is a lapped car, so that is not Birmingham, of course. Also Birmingham driving for XVR. So oh man, Alex Mas. I mean, Alex can really bring home a nice podium. I think it will be his first, but he needs to keep his head in the game because these mistakes will do him no good, I think. And hopefully, he, as maybe uses the pit stop to, reset for a second and go ahead. That is Clyde Whiting, who is sitting in P14, and I think already had his second stop. Yes, he did. So basically, the guys that have 2 stops are good to go until the end. We are waiting for the guys that have 1 stop, only 1 stop to their name.
Yeah, pretty much no one going wheel to wheel currently, just with the pit stops taking place. Nico Foggy, 26 seconds ahead with that poor lap last time round by Mass. Seems to have about a second in hand on everyone else on circuit currently, does Foggy. He's he just doesn't make mistakes, does he, Marco? We've seen this on Apex Racing TV. How, whilst everyone else is losing their head, he's just pounding in those lap times. And despite being quite an aggressive driver, he'll drive it close to the walls. He always seems to just be able to nail it corner after corner and just not make faults.
He's been fantastic. You don't win World GT by accident. You don't finish second and be a contender for the title in this championship by accident. And he's really cementing his position atop the pecking order, at least for this season, with this great performance he's having today. Now, of course, Johnny Brandon missing this race, like I said, puts a bit of a big I don't know what on Johnny's title aspiration, but that might also mean that now Foggy has a new ally towards the end of the season, because I'm quite sure that if Johnny knows is as my dog enters the broadcast booth, if Johnny knows he's not able to get the title, he will do, I think, his utmost to help his teammate bring home the title. So of course, I am sure that Johnny wanted to win the championship. He's still in the hunt for the championship because Nico Foggy can have a bad round, all things considered. It's in the realm of possibility. But, it's going to be tough from now on as Bocatyrev and Jackson are in for their pit stop.
So who's going to be ahead of one another here? Bocatyrev came into the pits. Sorry, no, Bocatyrev was behind, but will he be able to get ahead now? I doubt it because, yeah, there goes Jackson. So Bocatyrev, will he be anywhere close? Are they going to be close to anyone else out there? Stadler could be quite close to Bocatyrev here. Or Woodward, sorry. Here is Woodward. Can't get the power down, and that might just cost him 7th position.
Be careful of that bump with cold tires. It has taken many victims last season in the Enduro.
Here he goes. He's going to have to go to the outside. Bocatyrev very slow coming out of the pits. He's a little bit early on the brakes as well. Round the outside goes Woodward. He's almost into the wall, but just about misses it. And Bocatyrev crucially holds onto that position for now. Stadler 11 seconds behind those two. Lane O'Connor now up into the top 4. It's a XVR 134. As O'Connor seemingly, I can't see him currently, but he does reappear. This is
he missed the final chicane a couple of laps ago.
Okay, cool. Woodward trying to come back at Bocatyrev straight away. These two have been evenly matched so far today. Woodward with a couple of issues. You wonder where he would have been if it weren't for those first few lap issues. Both of them coming into the pits relatively early on, and so had quite a strict strategy that they've had to keep to. but both executed it as well as they possibly could. Also, Mass losing a bit of time to Warmingham now. You were talking earlier on, Marco, about how Warmingham was edging closer, but I think since that off for Mass, the gap's gone from about 7 seconds to 3.5 now.
Yes, let's bring it up on the screen while we are at it. Alex Mas and Warmingham, they are second and third, and we can see the gap in the last 5 laps as O'Connor goes in. Let's see. Yes, the gap has been going down basically each lap. Actually, on the penultimate lap, on this final lap, the gap increased just but a tiny bit in favor of Mas. But yeah, from 3 seconds down to from 6 seconds down to 3.7 seconds right now the gap in these past 5 laps, as Woodward is trying everything to get past a very hard working Bogatyrov today. The gap in the lead, last 5 laps, has increased by 7 seconds, 28 seconds now the gap between Nicole Foggy and Alex Mas, so looking very good is Nicole Foggy for a sweep of the Bathurst round.
Yeah, it would be another double for Nicole Foggy, who comes into the pits. And he can take as much time about this as he likes. Just needs to make sure he doesn't make an extra pit stop. Even then, he'd be looking very strong. He might come out of the pits here still in the race lead. Expect Mass to stay out. Of course, Mass took a full tank of fuel that last time round. In fact, actually, Mass should be able to take the lead here. And he does stay out, thankfully. Otherwise, I'll be quite embarrassed. Warmingham into the pits, though. And seemingly okay on that pit entry. Foggy is still stationary, so Mass will take the race lead once again. However, it will be just for a few laps. Foggy now coming out of the pits himself, and it's going to be about a 52-second stop, I believe, as Warmingham comes in now. Where will he be in comparison to Klosterman, crucially, as Hoffman has an off?
I think himself and Katie Ross Taranto had a coming together. They were getting into the pits, huh? Or, sorry, close to the pit entrance, and a misunderstanding, I have to say, and I think Katie Ross blew her engine there. That was a weird crash.
Maybe try and see the dummy here. Hoffman was a bit early on the brakes, I think. And I'm not quite sure what Taranto was quite trying to do. Maybe he was trying to come into the pits because did straight away go into the pits. So they actually had quite a lot of damage. So that was probably the best thing to do in the situation. Where did Warmingham come out? Warmingham 3 seconds behind Klosterman. So Klosterman's got the jump. He's up into 3rd position as it stands. Warmingham potentially with fresher tyres though. So don't count this one out. But he's only got 4-lap fresher tyres. So certainly going to keep Klosterman honest, but going to be tough to make that move. Final driver to come into the pits out of the entire field, I believe, is Alex Mas, along with Bill Switzer as well. He's staying out for a very long time, currently in 12th place.
Let's keep an eye on Alex Mas. I'm expecting him to pit as late as possible. I don't think he will be able to stretch into a one-stopper, even though we have seen many crazy things today, but that's not going to be one of them. Alex Mas is in.
Oh, that's surely got to be a penalty, cutting this circuit like that.
Not leaving anything on the table. Let's keep an eye on the clock. And you can follow on the bottom of your screen as Foggy goes back to the lead then.
This should be about 45 seconds stationary, I think, for Alex Mas. So if it's any longer than, not 45 seconds stationary, 45-second pit stop overall. If it's any longer than that, be a bit suspicious that maybe he's picked up a penalty.
He's coming out.
Oh, straight away. Nice.
Should be in front of Tony. But Tony might have a chance to come back at him. Well, he's not very close. He's got around 10 seconds to make up in the final 9 laps of the race. So not going to be easy for Tony to get to 2nd place. Alex Mas looking closer and closer to his first podium in the series.
Did he take tyres?
We will tell you straight away.
Because if he's taken tyres, he should be okay against Klusman with 5-lap pressure tyres. Should be fine. But if he didn't take tyres, then Klusman's going to have a great opportunity at catching up.
We
Was
will
a
see.
very quick pit stop for him.
We'll see if his car gets up on the jacks. He took tires, otherwise he didn't. Let's see. Yes, he did take tires.
Okay, so he should be strong to the end of the race now.
And I think with that, the pit stops are officially closed. The pit stop window is closed. And everyone has their car ready to get to the end of the race. And so from now on, if you want to make up a position, you have to do it on the racetrack. So far, no battles going on, but I guess that is going to change before the end of the race as Nicole Foggy punches in the fastest lap of the race at 2:06.0. You were very, very smart, Sam, to notice how much the pace the lap times have dropped compared to the first race. Of course, this one being held in much cooler conditions, and I'm sure the drivers are all happy because they were really complaining in first race before the first race when they were talking about the track conditions. So with fresh tires and not a lot of fuel on board, it should be a somewhat comfortable ride until the end of the race, but that's of course easier said than done. So we will see if this evening of racing will throw us maybe another surprise or two. So I'm sure Alex Mas is certainly happy with his performance. It was always going to be tough to get the race win. But if he manages to finish second and in front of Tony Klusterman, because we also have to remember, of course, if you get a penalty, it's not bad luck. It's your fault, and I'm sure Tony knows it. So keeping your race clear of penalties is very good. It's a bonus, and so Alex Mas deserves to be in second place right now. But what a race from Tony! 3 stops and he's still on the podium. So his pace was absolutely fantastic today.
Yeah, and what let Tony down in the end was the earliness of that first pit stop. If he pitted maybe lap 16 like everyone else and picked up that stop and go penalty as he did, he could have potentially got away with 2 stops because you can take fuel and tyres when you serve a penalty. So he may have been able to get away with it if that was the case, but it's the fact that he took his first pit stop around lap 12, that when he came in for his penalty on lap 15, he couldn't get to the end of the race from that distance. So it could have been a lot better for Tony, but in the end, a 3rd position wouldn't be a bad recovery. He will be kicking himself, though, because he was right in line for an undercut on Nicole Foggy and Alex Mas at one point. He was effectively leading the race, but that mistake really did undo his chances. 6.5 seconds between the two of them. We'll keep an eye out on their lap times this time round. Mas crosses the line. It's a 2-minute 7.63. As Foggy does a 2-minute 5, his first 2-minute 5 of the day. Klusman only 2/10 faster than Mas, a 2-minute 7.4. Warmingham a 2-minute 7.0. So he's absolutely rattling along. Those three going to get closer to one another as the race goes on. But there are significant gaps between them currently, so don't expect a wheel-to-wheel battle, unfortunately. But because Bathurst not an easy circuit to round off such a long race, so there could well be mistakes amongst these drivers in the closing stages.
Let's enjoy a lap on board with Tony Klusterman to see how is the situation right now with of course the sun going down, and of course the cars a little bit lighter, tires relatively fresh. So let's see how they will how tough it is for these drivers to drive around the racetrack. really getting as close as possible to those walls, like all the great drivers do. It's always a game of risk versus reward
Ooh.
here in Bathurst, as he gets super close to the wall there at Forest Elbow on the inside. Now down
Yeah.
to Conrad straight to end another lap.
Just sliding his way down the hill. Bit like not a toboggan, a bobsleigh driver. Of course, Canada notoriously good at the Winter Olympics. Not quite so much at motorsport, but well, I guess they got some representation currently. As Tony just enters the final corner, probably the best generic 90-degree corner in the world, I'd say, that final corner. Somehow, for such a boring corner, it does have a lot of character. Unlike the final couple of corners at Circuit of the Americas, for example, which well, certainly the last corner at Circuit of the Americas, possibly the worst corner in the world due to its lack of creativity. They literally thought, hang on, we've not got much more space. We've got to get it onto the pit straight. Let's just bang in an off-camber 90-degree corner there, and well, it's absolutely hideous. But
I like the way
there you go.
IndyCar were able to make it work by
Yes.
basically ignoring track limits.
Yeah. Yeah, everything they've tried though in F1, it hasn't worked. You'd think there'd be like a curb, but all the ones at Austria break the car, the ones at Spa flip the cars. We can go to the moon, but we can't create a curb which stops single seaters from extending the track limits. But certainly IndyCar did look superb around there.
So
Of course,
Tony,
when we go
yeah,
there in the UV8s, as we did in season 4, the track limits are notoriously impossible around there, where you dip 2 wheels onto the Astro grass and you can pick up a 1X, of course.
yeah, at least iRacing has that solution, which is far from ideal, but at the very least, it gives a resemblance of track limits around the racetrack. Of course, in Euro V8s, there are incident points, but you won't get disqualified. In the in opposite, you have basically bonus points for getting no incident points. So this is what keeps the drivers to keep it clean. And you might think, by the way that these cars handle and the way that the racing is, that it is not possible, but yet many drivers have shown over the years it's quite possible to win a race and get 0 incident points. Of course, it takes a lot of practice, a lot of dedication, a lot of skills, but it is possible. Alex Mas, by the way, is keeping his lap times. This lap he was quicker than Tony Klusterman, so second place really a possibility now. Warmingham once again lapping faster than Tony Klusterman with 5 laps left to go, so not a lot of time left, but if Tony makes even the smallest mistake, I think Richard will be all over the back of him and trying to get on the podium.
Yeah, definitely. Warmingham coming back strongly. Like I said earlier on, 4-lap fresher tyres. And he's certainly making those 4 laps pay currently. Just getting darker and darker. Like I said, it's going to be dark. It's, South Korea 2010.
No, man, that race.
Sorry?
Well, that race was fantastic.
Good race, yeah.
Especially for how then the season ended. But yeah, I remember that race being delayed by 1 hour and a bit, if I'm not mistaken, for the rain. And I had a great idea that day. I said, let's stay up and watch the race and then go to bed. It was not a smart idea. I also went to bed very unhappy. But the way that season ended made up for it 100%. But I might be getting into Schadenfreude territory, so I will stop at that.
Doesn't like Italians, does Mark? As we were talking about tennis earlier on, and I found out once again that he's not overly fond of his fellow countrymen.
There is a conspiracy theory that I am in reality a German putting on a fake Italian accent.
Okay.
The main perpetrator is none other than Samuli Kumo of this conspiracy theory.
Oh, is that Molinari guy? Is he Spanish or Italian?
Sadly, he's Italian.
Do you like him?
No, I was so happy when he put the ball into the water last week at the Masters in the.
I've never watched golf before, but I genuinely enjoyed watching 5 hours of golf or whatever.
Yeah, it
It was
was
so
fantastic.
it's really tense.
Yes, it was fantastic. Fantastic show. The Masters this year were absolutely amazing. Very very nice and. I mean, it has been a beautiful season so far. We had so many great tournaments in golf, and this was absolutely, I think, the best one of the season. And season is still very very long. We have a lot of majors still left. Hopefully, they will, hold the same quality as the Masters we had this year because it was simply beautiful.
Not really going to get a much more dramatic winner though,
No.
ever in golf. That was a once in a lifetime a win certainly. As Klisterman,
Oh, Tony.
2 seconds ahead of Warrior. He's having to push out here in order to keep that podium place. Warmingham knows that he's pushing the NQR driver right to the limit. We've only got a few more laps to go in this race. 4 laps to go after this one. They should be okay on fuel. Certainly Warmingham will be after a pretty long second pit stop for him, despite the fact that he pitted after Tony Klisterman. So maybe it'll be Klisterman actually on the limit of fuel. That would perhaps explain why his lap times have been a little bit off, although that last time he did get back into the 2-minute 7 stint, Klisterman, so recovering somewhat. We'll compare lap times this time. Mass, 2-minute 8.11. He's way clear of these two though. Klisterman, 2-minute 8.4. Slower lap that time, and Warrior 2-minute 7.5. So 1 second faster for Warrior. He's edging closer.
Yes, I think we might have a battle on the cars. Gap is now actually below 2 seconds, and I think in just a bit the battle box will pop up. That gets up when you have less than 1.5 seconds between the two drivers. So, of course, for Birmingham, the need to stay calm. He has better pace. Hopefully we can get a proper battle to round up the proceedings, which have been very very exciting today. Who says that long races are boring? I mean, the endurance round at Le Mans was fantastic earlier this season, and I'm quite confident the endurance race in Charlotte will be very very exciting as well in a couple of weeks.
Yeah, I'm sure it will be. Certainly a different circuit, a circuit that pretty much no one's got any experience around. So, going to be a great challenge for those drivers. Just looking at the sunset around this at this part of the world, on this part of the year, it's 7:47. Sorry, 7:41 in the evening, and we're now at 8:03. So it's properly dark out there. You know, this is a challenge to the drivers. It'll be interesting to see, any drivers that we chat to, how they found these final few laps. I imagine they're so dialed in right now, like owls currently. Trying to extract those extra few tenths. Of course, the track temperature pretty much maintaining at 26 degrees now. So not too much extra grip coming towards these drivers. Another half a second seemingly faster this time round for Birmingham. They are catching up to Mass, but Mass still 5 seconds clear. Yes, 7 tenths faster for Birmingham again. Klisterman just cannot get back into the 2-minute 7s now. Jackson's closing in as well, but he's 10 seconds behind. But, well, Klisterman, one of the sturdiest defenders, versus Birmingham, one of the wiliest attackers. Will be an interesting fight.
Let's watch from the rear end camera of Tony Cruzman. I don't know if you watched MotoGP in Circuit of the Americas last week. They had a terrible idea. Basically, they had a fake rear-view mirror on the camera that was watching on the back of the rider. Basically, it was so blatantly fake, and that it was even. I think it was even worse than the Heineken stars last season that were popping around random corners
yeah.
in F1.
I thought they were real at first. They showed it at Montreal, and with it being a street circuit, I thought, oh, they've just constructed that. That's a bit hairy for the FIA to have structures like that over the circuit.
Yeah.
I was quite stupid, really. At Austria, when they were
Yeah,
like
Austria.
on the side of the circuit, I kind of started recognizing maybe it's something's up with this. At least they've still got the sounds though for the starting lights.
Yeah.
Which why? Like
Right.
yeah, I'm not a big supporter of
At
that.
the very least, they also got rid of the stars in place of the red lights on the
Oh,
starting.
that was horrendous. Oh dear.
Yeah, but the Mario Kart. Oh, Tony locking his brakes there. The Mario Kart sounds when the race is. I mean, yeah. Every time there's a race start, and this season I'm watching races without commentary for my own sake. It always seems like there's a Mario Kart race starting.
You don't listen to the English commentary? Could you listen to that
No, I can't.
some way? No. Okay. Well, to be fair, a lot of people would say you don't want to. But certainly, yeah, the British sky biased towards the British drivers, the Italian sky biased towards the Italian drivers. But here we go.
2 laps.
Final couple of laps, and Williams there. 0.6 of a second between the two of them as we really get into the depths of night. There is so little visibility now for these drivers. I don't know if we could just ride on board with Tony Kloosterman for a little bit, but there's very little, of course there's no trackside lighting around this circuit. He's just got the sky to guide him ever so slightly. And certainly a big challenge for Kloosterman as it stands. It's getting darker very quickly. Warmingham, little bit of a difficult start to this lap. 0.2 lost through sector 2, 1/10 lost through sector 3. And so kind of the good work that he did on the first half of this lap and the second half of the last lap has kind of been undone. It's going to have to be a spectacular 3 minutes to end this race now for him to get a podium.
I mean, props, as the white flag is in the air, props to the organizers for timing this perfectly, because this is the perfect, way to end the race, and we are not in that moment where it seems like someone flicked the switch and the lights go off. We still have a bit of sunlight, residual sunlight from the sun being now below the horizon. So beautiful setting to end a proper racing night, as Nicole Foggy takes the white flag and is already on his way up the mountain. Seems like Birmingham wasn't able to capitalize on his good pace. It seems like Kloosterman was faster this lap, 2:08.0 and 2:08.2. Yes, so Tony Kloosterman finding the extra bit of performance out of his car, and he should be able to keep his podium. So let's, always keeping an eye on this battle, but let's enjoy the ride, with the race leader and about to take home a sweep of proceedings. Nicole Foggy, winner of race 1 and about to win race 2.
Yeah, we've also got Stanley catching up to Woodward out there, but I don't think that's one that's going to quite happen. But you're absolutely right. Foggy, 40 seconds clear of the rest of the field. It hasn't been easy, though. We should point that out. Those first 20 laps or so trying to get past Alex Mas could have easily been a lot worse. He did have a couple of offs. That's been as close as he's had to a big instant for the past few meetings, really. He's been exemplary out there today. Just catching up to a bit of a back marker. That's Andrew Hoffman just ahead of him. But Nicole Foggy, he was looking good for the championship before this. And with just 3 rounds to go, he is edging closer and closer to that inaugural championship win in the Euro V8 Supercar Series. He approaches the line. Nicole Foggy wins the feature race at Bathurst. 300 crucial points go his way, and he is well on course for that title victory now. Mass is going to surely take home his first podium of the season, first podium of his Euro V8's career. And after being quite an erratic driver, did make a couple of mistakes in race 1, remember, made a couple of mistakes in this race as well, but his pace has made up for that as he almost makes one extra one there. Almost spins it round. Well, what a calamitous end that would be. He's still going to get this one though. Alex Mas approaches the final corner and he takes home second position, and what a superb second place that is on his return to the championship. Klosterman hangs on to third. He beats Warmingham to the line. It will be Jackson rounding out the top 5 and Bogotayev in 6th position.
What a fantastic race from Bogotayev. I think it's one of his best results in quite a bit, getting 6th place, so congratulations to him. We are also waiting for Anthony Woodward and Arash Stedler to come home in 7th and 8th positions respectively. Yes, here we go with Anthony Woodward, and here comes Arash Stedler. Lane O'Connor will be next. He's at the chase with Greg Carr following him. And behind them we will get the cameras on the race winner for the club championship race. Once again it will be Gary Croft, as here we go, Greg Carr comes home. And then we have, yes, 2 drivers left are Gary Croft and Andrew Hoffman. Yeah, they will finish in 11th and 13th respectively, but Gary Croft will get the all-important win in the club championship.
Yeah, nice performance this from Gary. After winning race 1 as well, he crosses the line to win out of the club drivers. So, a few donuts from drivers out there. It was a fantastic event here at Bathurst. As we expect, it was a long race, certainly about 1 hour and 20 minutes in the end. Longer than our usual feature races, but it was certainly better than our usual feature races. And I think we can go through the final standings now. It's Nicole Foggy winning out 43 seconds clear of Alex Mas in the end in second place, his first podium in the series. Tony Klosterman was in third after making an extra pit stop due to a penalty, with Richard Warmingham just a little bit off in fourth. Chris Jackson had issues at the start of the race in fifth, with Nikolai Bogotayev finishing in sixth place. Anthony Woodward was in seventh, with Hal Stadler a good recovery in eighth, Dana Connor and Greg Carr rounding up the top 10. Gary Croft was top of the club drivers and the last driver on the lead lap in 11th. And then behind that was Clyde Whiting, Andrew Hoffman, Bill Switzer, Katie Taranto, Samuel Buzan, and then, the retirees were Taranto, Buzan, Michael Frost, Peter Bingham, and Johnny Brandon did not take the start due to a wheel issue. So, we should be able to get some interviews, and of course, we've got to have an interview. First up with Nicole Foggy, and Nicole, well done out there. Absolute domination it turned out to be in that race too. And doing the double again, you kind of got used to this.
Thanks. Domination, I suppose, but I did not do a very good job of trying to pass Alex Mas, especially. I think the brakes are still my weak point, so didn't do a good job there. I think I had an all right race with Tony and a few other people at the start. That was good. And then, I guess I just know the track quite well, so I was able to pull away. The tire pressures, I think, were pretty spot on for what they need to be, at least in this race. Last race was a struggle. It just kept getting hotter and hotter. But this one seemed to be the better one of the two.
Of course, in that race 1, we saw very high track temperatures. If it was a bit cooler out there, would you have gone for the one stop, or was the fact that it was so hot, the fact that the fuel consumption was so low, the reason why you went for the zero stopper.
Yeah, I think it was the heat that you don't use quite as much fuel, taking it easy, and I knew I needed to save. When I practiced fuel saving, I was just over the limit, so I just did that little bit extra, and the heat helped definitely. So I ended up having like maybe half a gallon left at the end, which was good. And I managed to hold back Tony for long enough to get a gap once he went into the pits. So that was all right.
And those first few laps in race 2 must have been quite nervy because you're in that battle with Chris and Tony and Richard as well, and of course everyone else in that big pack as well. You were running in about 8th position at one point. Were you particularly cautious making your way up through the field, or were you quite kind of happy to go for whenever the moves were available?
Well, definitely here you want to be a bit careful, especially over the mountain, obviously. Yeah, I was being cautious at the start. I want to try and take any gaps if there were any, but I didn't want to push too hard. So there was a few kind of close moments, but nothing. Yeah, I think I was cautious enough to for it to be all right. I think I had a wee touch with Tony as well. I'm not sure if that was my fault or not. And somebody else, I think it was, I was passing on the outside of the left hander at the bottom of the hill. I don't know if I just slipped the rear and then clipped. I think it was maybe Harold uh, Stradler, in the clipped him in the rear maybe. So I don't know if that was my fault or not.
And with that first pit stop, we saw you having troubles to get past Alex. Was probably the right decision to come in when you did. Did you take a little bit less fuel at that first pit stop in order to make sure that you got the undercut?
Yeah, I thought about that, and I mean, I didn't. There was two options, I guess, to just go full fuel, or I just split just split it in half between the two stops, and that seemed to go quite well, especially for the tires. I took tires on both stops, so you could, have about the same amount of usage on all three sets of tires. So that seemed to work pretty well.
Yeah, it certainly did. You went on course for the race victory and crucially a healthy championship margin. Now, with the issues for Johnny, you got to be feeling quite confident now.
Yeah, pretty unlucky for Johnny again. That's another big race he's missed. I think it was 2 last time, when his gear didn't work properly. So, yeah, unlucky for him. I think we would be pretty close now. He might even be in the lead if he hadn't missed all the races. So I don't know. It's a bit disappointing, but we'll see what happens. In the next few races, anything can happen.
Yes, still 3 more rounds to go. It's been good to watch you out there today, Nicole. Anyone you'd like to thank?
Thanks to you guys, and thanks to XVR, as always, and Clyde for running this series as well. Yeah.
Thanks, Nicole, and we'll see you next week. Oh, sorry, 2 weeks, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah, I'll catch you soon.
So that was Nicole Foggy. Next up, Marco, who do you fancy having a chat with?
We need to talk with the league organizer, absolutely. It's Clyde Whiting. Welcome in the booth, Clyde.
Good evening, gentlemen.
First of all, congratulations for timing the races perfectly, because that was quite the picturesque ending of proceedings, basically with only the headlights working. So, really nice job.
Yeah, that was an accident. Less said about that, the better.
And we noticed a couple of weeks ago while going through the through the schedule in the interviews that for this being a classic sprint and feature race event, the distances were quite long, and the second race more or less worked as a mini endurance, which we really enjoyed. But yeah, now I'm a bit sad because apparently, yeah, you're saying that it wasn't scheduled. Was the race distance right?
No, it was supposed to be 16 and 32, but when we did the posters at the start of the season, obviously a bit of copying and pasting error. we ended up with the same amount of laps as Zolder.
I can see where the issue is right now. Because, yeah, two completely different races. But I have to say, it was really fantastic racing all around, and I really, really liked it. So it was a Bob Ross style happy accident, this one, because I think the racing was really, really exciting all the way through, and the way that, the sun was setting, and like once again, the end of the race conditions being so dark was really, really beautiful. So I mean, I really enjoyed it, and Sam can say the same. So, yeah, more of these mistakes in the future, hopefully.
Yes, definitely.
What about your race then? How did you fare in this very very long double header?
First race accident all by myself. Put me in the pits earlier than I wanted. I think I managed to get back to something like 13th. And then race two, I felt pretty good for. I knew I had a good setup for race two, and really thought I could crack the top 10 this time. I'm fairly comfortable around Bathurst. I've done thousands and thousands of laps. It's one of them tracks that you just drive it and you know. But unfortunately, my teammate Greg had an accident into the first right-hander, and then trying to avoid him, I didn't manage to avoid him, and then came together with Sam as well. And then I was down on speed for the next 5 laps, just trying to eke it out to the first pit stop. But again, recovered back to 12th, so only a couple of positions down on what I was hoping for.
Speaking of night races, next week, sorry, in 2 weeks' time, we have Charlotte, and that's going to be, I think, a great round. What about that? Are you feeling confident about the racetrack?
I've never turned a lap on it. I think it's going to be a big leveler. I don't know if anybody's done any practice as of yet. I wouldn't have thought so, but yeah, it's certainly going to be interesting. The races I've watched there's a number of places that can bite you and ruin your race. So you never know. We might get some new winners, or a new winner anyway.
Well, yeah, especially that chicane there on the backstretch. You have to go single file through there and be careful of those curbs because they can destroy your car. And of course, the tire barrier poking out, that's going to be a big danger. Clyde, thank you very much.
Marco, sorry,
Yeah,
mate. Marco,
no,
you know us. We don't do single file.
yeah, no. I say this only because I crashed there many times in official series. So yeah. Uh, Clyde, before we let you go, anyone you'd like to thank?
Yeah, obviously the team, NQR, sponsors, Simability, D4 Pet Services, KSW Painting for the sponsorship. As all the league members know, KSW are finishing at the end of this season, so we're now looking for a new principal sponsor. We offer quite a good package, I think. So if anybody out there is interested or knows anybody that interested, get in touch, please.
We made sure to, let everyone know about this at the beginning of the broadcast. So hopefully you guys can get a good sponsor for next season because the series really deserves it.
Yeah, excellent. Thank you, guys.
Thank you very much, Clyde, and catch you in a couple of weeks then.
Yeah, thanks again for another good broadcast.
And that was Clyde Whiting. Sam, who shall we get next?
Oof. We will have a chat with Andrew Hoffman, I believe, who had a good result today. And yeah, Andrew kept it relatively clean. We saw a little bit of a spin in race one, but just take us through your evening this evening.
Yeah, it was a hard day's work, I give you that. That virtually sums it up.
Yeah, pretty much. Of course, how was the fuel in that first race? Did you think about perhaps going for the zero stopper, or were you always going to go for the one stop?
Yeah, I'd planned on going for the one stop. Tried to set the car up so I was doing mid nines. Um, yeah, I ended up putting in the wrong setup, so yeah, blew that to pieces. But yeah, unfortunately, the first corner net code with Frosty spun me round. So yeah, all in all, first race was pretty good. I managed to stay on the first lap.
And in that second race, you finished one lap down, but from as far as we could see at least, you didn't seem to have too many collisions out there.
I had yeah, I had a good fight with Clyde for a while, and yeah, that was all right. And got hit towards the end of the race, which spun me out and turned the car into something I didn't really want to drive. But yeah, I was determined to finish the race.
Absolutely. And how was the how were the final few laps when the sun was kind of setting and it got quite dark very quickly near the end there?
I don't have a problem with it on this track. This is probably the only track I've done over 300 laps. All the tracks I've been on so far, yeah, I'm the first time for them. But yeah, this track I don't have a problem with the sun setting. Yeah, you know all your markers, and there's always something on the side of the road to pick your brake markers.
Absolutely. Next up, we head to Charlotte Road Course for the endurance race. Are you feeling confident about that one?
Oh hell no! That'll that'll be a first timer there too, and I haven't done any testing there at all. My problem is I only get 2 or 3 hours testing during the week, and the rest of it's on race day. So overall, the season so far, I'm pretty happy. I didn't expect to do as well as I am actually with the lack of testing and first time in the V8.
So, well, you certainly improved a lot, and yeah, hopefully you'll be able to get some good results with the final few rounds. Before we let you go, Andrew, anyone you'd like to thank?
Oh, there's a bunch of people. KSW, yourselves, because without you guys, it would just be cars driving around. You really bring a race to life. My sponsors, Flower Cast Bay Retreat and Fletcher, and my wife. Without her understanding and love, I wouldn't be able to do this with lack of time at home.
Well, you certainly got yourself in the good books there, Andrew. So congratulations with that, and congratulations with your results today, and hopefully see you very soon.
Yeah, okay, thanks guys. Have a good one.
So, Marco, I think just one more interview to go, and it's with Anthony Woodward.
Absolutely. So let's bring him up. And here is Anthony. So, Anthony, how was the race 1 and race 2 from your perspective tonight?
Grueling. Misadvertised. It should have been advertised as 2 endurance races.
I told in the opening of the broadcast, especially race 2 in my books was a mini enduro because that's what felt like when we read the scheduled distance, and that is how effectively turned out to be. Especially race 2 with the two stops. So it was and the ending under the, well, not under the lights, without the lights, only with the headlights of the car. So I'm guessing it has been very, very tough from your perspective tonight.
Yeah, it was pretty artistic, wasn't it, in the end there? I like that. But I got a sore back now. That was a bit too much. Good fun, though. I mean, I thrive on the endurance rounds. I'm looking forward to the next round for that reason. But it's just so hot in here in the garage where I race, and that first race, just the temperatures, the track temps were just off the scale. I don't think I've ever raced on such a hot track, and there's just no grip, no grip.
You're talking about next race in a couple of weeks, of course. Yeah, it's going to be a level playing field. That one in Charlotte. Not only it's a great equalizer because the track is not that difficult, but also it's a new track for the series. And of course, being an endurance event, you should be feeling decently confident about bringing home a good result.
Yeah, hopefully. I bought the track and practiced as soon as it came out, and I like the track. It flows nice, so we'll see what the pace is like. It's touch and go whether I'm on the pace week to week, to be honest, track to track. But we're improving. I think the pace improvements put me in a more difficult place in the field. So I've had a few slip ups this season, but pace is improving still. So as long as that keeps going forward, we're all good.
Certainly it is. Anthony, before we let you go, anyone you'd like to thank?
Yeah, the team, Tony especially, Sim Mobility, Default Pet Services, you guys for the broadcast, Clive for organising the league, and me mum and dad.
Thank you very much, Anthony. Once again, congratulations, and catch you in a couple of weeks' time.
Thanks very much, guys. Cheers.
So, Sam, we are getting unbelievably towards the end, I should say, of quite a long broadcast. The timer on my monitor says 3 hours and 28 minutes. And also, don't forget, I already did 1 hour and a bit of SRA racing this afternoon. But I tell you what, it was worth it. And what's best, tomorrow is a holiday, so we get to enjoy some nice food and a lot of chocolate. So I think it was a great prelude to a great, holiday tomorrow. I was very, very happy, and I really enjoyed the proceedings this afternoon. Night is tonight. Sorry.
Yes, absolutely. Of course, really, yeah, a little bit of a late finish, but at least we'll be able to lie in tomorrow morning at least. So, should be good fun. That's and yeah, what a good fun this race was indeed. Just this series carries on delivering. Undoubtedly, we've had a few superb races in a row. Every week seems to be delivering. And hopefully, Charlotte will be the same thing in 2 weeks' time. Of course, if you want to join the series, certainly do. The V8 Supercar is not the easiest car to get the hang of. Just ask any of the top drivers in this league. They'll all say that it takes you at least a season or so to really get comfortable in it. But certainly, once you do, it's a fantastic car to drive. And hopefully, you'll join us in a couple of weeks' time for that next race at Charlotte, the third to last round of the season. Of course, we've also got other races coming up in the week. Nothing tomorrow, of course, but on Monday we'll have the World GT. That'll be the final round
Oh,
of the
really?
World GT, I believe.
Oh,
Yes.
I already
I am
called
commenting.
I already called it the last round, last time around, like me and Ryan. So let's say it's Ryan's fault. He was saying, let's switch to iRacing Esports Network. If you want to follow the final round of World GT. By the way, congratulations on making you and Adam on making in the iRacing top 10 for the month.
Oh,
Uh,
thank you very much. Yeah.
from the Interlagos broadcast. So, okay. Even earlier today, I said that on Monday we only have the MX5s, but no, apparently we have a double header. So, very, very nice to have it.
Yeah, absolutely. And of course, on Tuesday, we've also got the MX5s. Wednesday, we'll have the iRacing Le Mans series.
Nope.
And not the World. Oh, what?
No, we have the first round. If I'm not mistaken, let me go and take a look. I think we have the first round of Sim Racers World Championship. But
Ooh.
let me be
Oh, am I
100%
doing
sure.
that?
So, round 1, 24th of April. So, yes, and this means that the Racing Le Mans series will have to find a new date, and we are working on that. So, yeah, April 24th, the road for the season 4 of the Dynamics World GT Championship is starting. So that was a very, very nice championship that we commented on last season, and I'm really happy that it is starting again.
Absolutely, should be good fun. That one on Thursday, we've also got the BSRTC Pro Series. That'll be round 3 of that championship. And yeah, and of course, in 2 weeks' time, we've also got the Year V8 Supercar Series from Charlotte Motor Speedway.
I hate to stop you, Sam, of course, but we also have to remind the sports car Tuesday, I like to call it, early in the morning for the early birds, 8:45 GMT IMSA, and later in the night at the same time, more or less, as the MX-5s, the official VRS GT series. So if you like sports car racing, you are well, Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. You have basically 4 races to watch, and that's of course waiting for Rick Motek to come back for next season. That series is over, I can be sure of that, but it's coming in just a few weeks. So GT, GT3, you have everything you can want and more, especially early in the week, and then on Thursday and twice, every 2 Saturdays, we have touring cars, even though very different touring cars, to be fair, but touring cars nonetheless in the Kia on Thursdays, and of course the V8 supercars on Saturdays. But I think that with that, we should be ready to say goodnight, Sam.
Yes, I think so. So hopefully you're tuning next time. Thanks for tuning in this evening, and we'll see you next time.